This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. That's my new testing. 1, 2, 3. As I just sing the.
You guys watch too much Sesame Street.
Yeah, you're gonna get us sued for that.
Hey, can you just let her be?
Let her be.
I remember watching Sesame Street, and they were showing a thing about.
Brought to you by the letter B.
Well, yeah, it was a bunch of folks in a restaurant, and they were going to see a band. And they said, and now, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to present the Beatles. And then the curtains open, and it's a bunch of Muppet insect beetles.
Nice.
Right? And their song was, let her be, let her be, let her be, let her be.
Now that is
it's
good
the
childhood.
Second letter, right? Something like that.
That's
and then,
good childhood entertainment.
And hanging behind them was a giant bee, right? The letter B, like hanging from the ceiling, you know?
The Beatles.
The Beatles, right, yes. This is Free Talk Live. I believe that we are not only broadcasting on radio, but that we have reestablished our internet streams, albeit a scaled-down version. We're down to one camera. Normally we have several cameras that we rotate through. So, yeah, throw up the peace signs, gang signs, middle fingers, whatever you're going to do. We appear to be streaming for the moment. I have several people working on confirming whether or not we are actually streaming online. And, in fact, I'm one of those people, and I'm attempting to confirm that now. And I will get confirmation in 10, 9,
and I'm going to keep throwing
8,
up the peace sign.
7,
because that's what
6,
this show stands for.
5, 4. I cannot confirm. That is interesting.
And 10, 9.
Remember back in the good old days when we just assumed that we were going out on the radio and assumed that we actually had access to the internet?
Yeah.
Well, things happen there, Peakless, and, out of our control. One of the good things, so, like, things happen, right? I think everyone's aware of what happened. And I was messaging the captain a little bit, back and forth.
Oh.
I was, like, signing my messages.
I'm sorry. I just have to take a moment of self-gratification.
Streams are up.
This appears to be a live stream on YouTube.
Woo!
Yeah.
On our own channel.
Even more impressive.
So we should be on YouTube, DLive, Twitch, Facebook, several other sites that I can't remember off of the top of my head because, well, I'm not Ian Freeman.
Do we have a live chat room available where if people were to confirm that for us, they could, like, at least send us a little
we
ping?
probably do. I don't have access to the Mastodon chats.
Okay.
Right now. You could probably jump in the DLive, Twitch chat rooms, maybe the Facebook page for Free Talk Live. We are broadcasting live on the Facebook page for Free Talk Live.
Okay.
That's something that we hadn't been doing for maybe as much as years. And then recently, Mr. Freeman and his brilliant mind made that happen again, along with several other live streams. We were not live streaming on YouTube as well for quite some time because they changed how we must connect. And so he had worked all that out. So
I do think it bears mentioning just in case there's someone who only gets this on Sundays.
Yes.
And this being the first Sunday since...
it has been, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. It has been 5 days since the terrorist raid on the LRN.FM/Free Talk Live radio studio, as well as the Bitcoin Embassy, the Mighty Moose Mart, and a house. And also since they kidnapped 6 people in total. Not all of them were at the studio or at the Bitcoin Embassy. Some of them were paid a visit by armed thugs who refer to themselves as the government and kidnapped. Right. Nobody, the formerly known as Rich Paul, host here on Free Talk Live, is still inside. He was not granted bail. And there was no, I don't know if there was a hearing or not, but it doesn't.
I was
look
curious about that. he was not granted bail, or he refused the bail conditions, and therefore, do we have confirmation on
We have no confirmation.
Yeah, what I had heard is that he might have simply refused to sign some of the paperwork, which would not be surprising given his general temperament.
But it also means it's more of a choice to be in there than the others, because everyone else accepted their conditions and they are free conditionally.
Well, I mean, I don't know.
Well, they're out of the cage, but with conditions on how to live their life.
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
So you can live your life, free from the cage with conditions, or you can live in the cage unconditionally.
But of course, only until the trial and all that stuff, goes on. So, nobody, the person named Nobody, is still in the cage.
The nobody formerly known as Rich Paul.
That's correct. Ian Freeman is not a Freeman. He is Ian Captured Man. He is still inside.
Ian Hostage.
Yes, being held hostage. There was a bail hearing for Mr. Freeman on Friday. The judge said that she would make her decision expeditiously.
Whatever that means.
And so we're hoping it just means that she'll make her decision, tomorrow, Monday, for example. But, it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell what expeditiously means to government. I wish she would have said, I'll make my decision by Monday afternoon. And then, we could, count
or
on
just
that.
made her decision at that time, because
that
the case was pretty strong on the defense.
Well, and okay, let's say that she had said, I will make my decision by Monday afternoon, or what?
Yeah, that's true.
Monday afternoon comes, and what are we going to do, sue them?
We know it is difficult to hold government accountable.
Difficult.
Again,
difficult in the way that it is difficult to reach the moon by flapping my arms.
It is difficult. Very difficult, yes.
So one of the points I was trying to make when Captain was looking, trying to confirm the D-Live thing, is I was signing all my communication to him, Hail Hydra, because
that is true.
Because if this is the first time listening, it's me and Peakless Mountaineer sitting in the studio. This is the first time you've probably heard our voice since the incident.
Mm-hmm.
However, we're here anyway, right? We weren't scared off by the raid. We weren't put off by what they were doing.
Right.
Free Talk Live, in general, Ian Freeman as a person and the whole crew surrounding it, have built up this show in a way that if one person or one entity or multiple people go down, there are replacements in the wings willing and ready to step up and step in.
Well, right. And so you guys ever see one of these science fiction shows where, the world goes to crap and then some school teacher ends up being the 35th person in line to well, you're the president now or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I feel like that person.
As well you should.
Because
and you have definitely stepped up and gone way above the call of duty.
Indeed.
I appreciate you,
I
Captain.
salute you for the efforts that you have made.
I'm not looking for that. I have plenty of help.
You have grown a brand new super techie personality.
I'm not looking for any of that. I'm just saying that is what I feel like. I'm okay, well, here I go. And
But if not for you, what would have become of the show?
Well, at the same time, I'll be a SOB if I'm going to let this show die if there's a damn thing I can do about it.
That's what I'm saying.
Well, and I mean, to quite literally give the devil his due, I mean, they made a very, very tactical strike. I mean, you took out the two people who are by far the least likely to defend themselves in any way, shape, or form whatsoever, and have significantly reduced our technical capability in the process.
Real quick, just for the listeners who are still maybe confused about what happened, as many as I think 6 law enforcement agencies did a no-knock raid on the Free Talk Live studios. That is to say, they used a battering ram on the doors, all of the doors. Door frames were broken. The windows were broken out in multiple places. Currently, there's plywood and that kind of a thing, over some of the openings in the home. Some folks are in the building. Some folks have, volunteered their time and effort and materials to help secure the place of their own volition. And we thank everybody who has stepped up in this weird time that we're going through here at Free Talk Live. We can talk more about the Crypto 6 coming up. This is Free Talk Live, the Sunday night edition.
If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by T.J. Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you're helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
You know how annoying it is when someone keeps stopping mid-sentence as though he or she were asking you a series of questions? Avoid doing that. It sounds unnervingly tentative, and it imposes upon the listener to help you complete the thought. And if you're a job seeker, this alone could be a deal killer. An effective communicator sounds more confident. Complete the thought. Avoid making the listener impatient. With money and attention so scarce now, effective communication skills have never been more important. Cutting through the clutter rather than blending into the blah, blah, blah will help you connect better no matter what the conversation. For more tips, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook. survivalspeech.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
Everyone's always talking about buy Bitcoin, buy Bitcoin. Yeah, well, I'm sorry. That's boring as hell. How about earning some Bitcoin? Getting paid with it. That's the way. It is money after all. If you want to earn Bitcoin at your business, AnyPay is the way to do it. Your customers will love it. Everyone in town will talk about your store being the Bitcoin store, and it's just fun. Get our free app and start earning Bitcoin at your business. AnyPayX.com.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, come on and listen. Listen to Free Talk Live.
Especially you, Jeff Berwick.
Yes, this is a message for Jeff Berwick. The Crypto, and then the number 6, thecrypto6.com is the legitimate donation site for the Crypto 6 Legal Defense Fund. So the 6 folks who were arrested will need legal assistance. Only Ian Freeman at this point has something that resembles not a public defender. So everybody else has had to use a public defender for their bail hearings, et cetera, and so on. And so we are trying to raise funds for the Crypto 6. Free the Crypto 6 by visiting THECRYPTO and then hit the number 6.com. TheCrypto6.com is the official fundraiser. We take a variety of cryptocurrencies for this fundraiser, including privacy coin Monero. I think it's important, since we are talking about cryptocurrencies and since this whole scenario seems to revolve around cryptocurrencies, I think it's important that we include privacy coins like Monero in our donations. So they're out there: Bitcoin, BTC, Ethereum. I think we take Dash. You'll see it all at thecrypto and then the number 6.com. We were talking about, well, what really happened. There was a raid by terrorists on the Free Talk Live studio, on the Mighty Moose Mart and the Bitcoin Embassy. They share a building, as well as a home connected to, well, next door to that building. 6 people in total were arrested. They also had to go to other people's homes to get the total of 6 people that they arrested. They confiscated many things. Anything that resembled a computer, a laptop, a tablet, a cell phone, a hard drive, anything that they thought could store media, they confiscated. They did a whole bunch of damage to the Free Talk Live studio, the building that we're in, as well as the building next door, which contained some tenants. The tenants are okay. They weren't harmed. They weren't arrested. They did lose some stuff. Their day was ruined by these terrorists. And also they did a bunch of damage to the Bitcoin Embassy as well, including taking out the Bitcoin vending machine.
The very first
one. And then they, in addition to arresting everybody and all of that I just said, they also went around town and confiscated several other Bitcoin ATMs as well.
So what was interesting about that, because they took one out of a restaurant that I frequent in Manchester, New Hampshire, right? And they did so without similar like brouhaha that they did everything else, right? They apparently showed up to that one, served the warrant, and then removed it peacefully without roping off 3 blocks worth, directing traffic, and having all these agencies surround the building to make, show of it.
Yeah.
They did it as you would normally, serve that warrant. Like, not that it's a good thing, but it seems weird that they didn't make a production out of that.
Yeah, I guess we didn't finish covering that, the production that they made out of it. So here are the agencies that showed up at both the Free Talk Live studios and the Bitcoin Embassy. We'll start at low and work our way up. There was Keene PD, so the regular town police. There was Cheshire County Sheriffs, so that would be the county police. Then there was the FBI.
Well, sorry to split hairs, but sheriffs and police are actually not supposed to be doing the same job.
Correct, right. And then there was the FBI. Then there was the IRS, the Treasury Department, and the ATF. So those were the 5 or so agencies that showed up.
There was the
ATF, yes.
Wow.
Yes. There was also
because Bitcoin.
Why?
Because Bitcoin fits one of those categories.
Their
official name, even though they abbreviated, is alcohol, tobacco, firearms, and explosives.
Hold that thought. There was also a military-style drone deployed here at the studio, and there was 1, possibly up to 2 Bearcats.
I heard 2 Bearcats.
No, I saw a video of 2 Bearcats.
I only saw 1 on the video that I saw. And I saw only a little bit of early video. I know there's been some video released recently. I haven't had a chance to. I've been just head down trying to get this show back on the road, as it were, or as it is intended to be. And so I'm making progress on that every day. But yes, so. Now, why you would need all of those agencies, all of those men with guns, all of those tools of destruction for what is known as a peaceful place, a church, if you will, right? It is the Shire Free Church, and the last time that these terrorists, who call themselves government, showed up to inquire about something and steal equipment, they knocked on the door and somebody answered and let them in. That did not happen this time. They stormed in at about a 6 a.m., mind you, with a no-knock raid, bashing in the doors, bashing in windows, all military style. They all had, military style looking weapons and camouflage. I actually have a screenshot because when they disconnected the cameras, a couple of the guys were here in the studio, pulling cables and stuff like that. And you can see that they're all on this.
Yeah, I saw that on the way in
stuff.
here that they had ripped the cables on all the cameras out.
Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, that is sort of the best summary that I can give you of the scene as it played out here this past Tuesday.
Heaven forbid we have video records of what supposedly our represented law enforcement agencies are doing. Heaven forbid we actually record what they're up to.
Yep.
No, they want to be secret police. That's what they want.
And the best I figure that is so it has the chilling effect, right, of people not associating, people disassociating, people getting scared, and whether or not there was, illegal Bitcoin activity, whether or not you're still allowed to transact in Bitcoin on an individual basis, I do think part of that intent was to criminalize Bitcoin activity so those people who don't know precisely what's going on now fear using cryptocurrencies because because they fear being next, and there's nothing to say that they won't be next, because the government always escalates.
Yes.
Right? If they're going after, ATMs and vending machines now, well, peer-to-peer transactions, if they can find out that you've got it and you're willing to trade with other people, what's to stop them from putting you in that same category?
Well, the nice thing about most cryptocurrencies is that it is at least pseudonymous. Some cryptocurrencies are entirely anonymous.
And pseudo means not. So I learned that from Ernie Hancock.
Yes.
Well, and it's worth explaining what that means.
Yes, go ahead.
So, pseudonymous means there is this account that if there's nothing else connecting you to it, then there's no way to know that it's you. You can find out everything that's been done on any account that transacts in any of these cryptos. You can find out what the account's done, but you can't necessarily trace them to any individual.
Right.
Now, if on the other hand, so that was one of the big things for me. So I live out in Manchester, and there are, I'll talk about it after the break.
Tease it.
What will you talk about after the break?
After the break, I'll talk
Mountaineer?
about why the Know Your Customer is the form of oppression that they're going with now.
And also, after the break, I may actually remember to introduce who's on the show tonight. More Free Talk Live is coming up.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
Free Talk Live.
Tricia, you deserve the forgiveness. Absolutely. I know that it feels like you've made some mistakes, and you know what? You have made mistakes. Now, it doesn't feel like in this.
Who hasn't?
Right. A, it doesn't make any sense for you to continue to beat yourself up. You're not going to get anything out of it. Nobody else is going to get anything out of it.
That's
but
true.
B, you would give the forgiveness to somebody else. You deserve that forgiveness for yourself.
And only you can give it to yourself.
I mean,
and I think forgiveness is about moving on for yourself, being able to come to a position in your own mind where you're ready to just accept what went wrong and try your best to do better in the future. and find self-assess and find areas that you can improve. And I think, bringing forgiveness to the table for yourself is one of the most important things that you can do.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
How many lawyers does it take to change a light bulb? None. They'd rather keep their clients in the dark. There are too many lawyer jokes to count. However, there are some lawyers with more noble intentions. At the Institute for Justice, we bring the light to our clients. We are a non-profit public interest law firm with clear values and principles. At IJ, we fight for those whose most basic rights are denied by the government. Visit our website today at ij.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Yes, it is air drumming. No, it's Free Talk Live. Sorry. For those of you watching our streams, I was poorly attempting to air drum. I apologize for such tomfoolery.
Shouldn't you be an expert at air drumming?
An expert?
An expert.
What's an expert?
It's like an expert, but next.
Oh, it's a portmanteau?
Line.
A next expert? No, I should be like a professional air guitarist, which I am far better at air guitar than I am at air drums. So,
who are you even talking to, Captain?
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
That's right. Thanks, man. You guys keep me on my toes. I've lost all sorts of professionalism over the last 5 days because
apparently we get our introductions back when we get new cameras. I mean, that's
yeah. Thanks for the self-intros, guys.
You're welcome.
And I, of course, am the captain. I'm supposed to be your host tonight. We'll see if I live up to that.
It's off the rails already.
He's taking a break from hosting duty to be the tech expert.
The techspert.
The techspert. Ooh,
yeah,
I like that.
That's right. That's right. I'm the portmanteau guy. The techspert.
The next expert.
Yeah. It's almost a disastrophe here in the studio. That's a disaster and catastrophe.
Yeah,
that's another portmanteau. Just so you know, I'm rolling 3 portmanteaus in a row
getting
now.
all the way to the portman ankle up here.
I was having all sorts of technicalities. That's 4 portmanteaus now in a row.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah. So
up to the portman shins.
What's the record? What's the record?
We might be to like the portman, what do you call the
knee?
The arch of your foot. Yeah.
Oh, it's called the arch of your foot.
Portman arch. Yeah. Maybe
Port March.
Yeah. Okay, we've had enough of that.
Moving on.
This is Free Talk Live. Normally, it is the live call-in radio talk program where you could take control of the airwaves, talk about whatever you want. However, it is not today. We still have not been able to reestablish our phone system. We have reestablished pieces of it individually, but actually delivering the calls to the phones and then getting the phones on the air, that part is still in a state of disarray. So sadly, we cannot take calls still to this day. It may be another day or two. I can't give you a real ETA, but we will continue to bring you the content that we normally do from the perspective of freedom as best we can until we can reestablish phones. I do look forward to talking to all of our listeners who have been listening. We've had people volunteer out of everywhere. People are restreaming radio broadcasts online in places like Float and that type of thing. Folks are doing anything they can to. We had Joa come in and stream from the studio on Tuesday night live, because we had no method of broadcast. The studio was in such a state of disarray and discombobulation.
Yep. Good job, government. Like I said, Hail Hydra. Everyone now has been activated, maybe beyond what they would have normally done.
Yeah, and now that I really wanted to talk about as well. Like we'll get back to a point I wanted to, but okay, what usually happens for freedom-oriented shows and things like that is that they don't target them because it underlines everything that you're doing.
Generally speaking, that is true.
And every time that you are obviously being oppressed, it kind of, validates the fact that you are talking about being oppressed.
Yep.
And usually they don't bother to do that because it's against their self-interest. But here's the thing, like, we are obviously getting so close to the absolute tipping point that this is worth it to them. Like, it is worth silencing every last little bit, even for 5 seconds, even to try and just roll the dice on, can we get these people to shut up? Roll the dice. Can we get these people to shut up just a little bit? Can we do just a little bit more of the chilling effect here? Because they're losing.
Yes, they are.
Now, they will claim. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, they are losing. They are afraid of Bitcoin. And they should be. Bitcoin has the potential to replace government completely. And I mean in every sort of way. Bureaucracy is the crux of what government is, and government can not do as good a job at managing bureaucracy as the blockchain technology can. Now, it's going to be a little while until the apps are developed that actually do this, but people think Bitcoin and cryptocurrency is money for the internet or magic internet money from the internet. No. It is not that. It is the internet of money. So think of the impact the internet had on all of the businesses, how it changed the whole entire business landscape, right? Cryptocurrency can do all of that to finance, right? So there is going to be large financial institutions that go the way of the dodo very quickly at some point in the very near future. And the people who run those financial entities right now are well aware that they cannot stop Bitcoin. It is unstoppable. It did not ask permission to exist. And if they could, they would have already taken it down. They would have already stopped it. Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies are being attacked every day by not just governments, by banks, by other financial institutions, by hackers, by anybody with a profit motive. It is being attacked on the daily, if not minute by minute, and it still gains value, and Bitcoin itself, BTC, has never been hacked.
At the same time, a lot of the largest corporations who are most aware of what's going on are hedging their bets, are backing themselves up by purchasing large quantities of Bitcoin.
Right, and this scares them.
Well, okay, so it does scare them. You're right. But I think what the claim will be made then, that this is not about Bitcoin use or sales in and of itself. It's that in these particular instances, in the what do you call that? The charges that were filed.
Of the indictment, right?
In the indictment, thank you. A lot of those were, he did not get the permission from the state to operate these services.
That is a very interesting thing. Like
you can be
the
a
official
money
charges.
transmitter. Yeah.
The official charges are you didn't fill out the paperwork and you didn't give us a cut.
Right.
That is officially why they have kidnapped our friends, stolen our equipment, and attempted to cripple our show. They have attempted to destroy our First Amendment rights that they're supposedly protecting because you didn't fill out the paperwork and give us our cut.
And let's not forget the terrorism part. Right? They terrorized terrorized Keene, New Hampshire.
Mm-hmm.
That's a town in where all this went down. Some people were arrested in their homes that they didn't live in Keene. Right. They lived elsewhere. But
the production of arresting a handful of people.
2 different locations in Keene, New Hampshire. And if you've never been to Keene, this is a 23,000 person town. It's a bit of a Mayberry, if you will. A bit of a throwback, a bit of an Andy Griffith show. It's a small town.
And Ian and the activists are known entities in town.
They are, but now they've terrorized the entire town with their production.
And I think that's part of why they made such a production out of this, where they didn't do that in Manchester. Because if they'd tried to pull that kind of crap in Manchester, there are so many liberty-oriented people that would have shown up that they hadn't already, kidnapped.
Yeah.
That would have shown up, would have obviously would have recorded this entire event, put it on the internet, and I mean, my God, like if we could have put some of the footage of this on the internet, like just the savage, unnecessary brutality of we're going to chain up people that don't even have anything to do with this.
And once people were notified about the events in Keene and the surrounding areas, it wasn't an insignificant amount of people that responded.
Right.
There was, for that level of notice, like I thought there was pretty sufficient the amount of people that were able to get out in support with their cameras, talking to the police, however they felt like addressing those thugs, as it were. So in Manchester, there's more of us concentrated, so it may have appeared as more of an impact because more of us could have been out there. But I don't think the Keene response was insignificant in any way, given the amount of time that we had to respond.
And with that much of a response in a small town like this, I mean, imagine what the largest city in New Hampshire would have given.
That's why they got a warrant served and they were in and out quietly.
This is the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. We'll talk more about freeing the Crypto 6 coming up.
Hi, I'm Derek J. To me, an activist's calling is to actively work to advance a cause. The cause for which I work is personal freedom. I believe my life is best when I engage in voluntary interactions and self-government. I reject the idea that anyone else has a higher claim to my life or my body than I do. I see people who call themselves the government as a threat to my personal freedom. I realize you may feel differently, but my relationship with the people who call themselves the government is completely involuntary. If Starbucks used some of its money to drop bombs, I wouldn't shop there. So why would I support the American empire? The empire does not require my consent.
Derek J's Victimless Crime Spree. Watch it for free and order the Director's Cut DVD at victimlesscrimespree.com. That's victimlesscrimespree.com. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. On Free Talk Live, we're bringing people to the ideas of liberty every day. From wrestling superstars like Glenn Jacobs.
You guys really are having an impact, I believe. Like I said, a lot of where I am now is due to listening to Free Talk Live. You changed my mind on some very important issues years ago.
To random people tuning in on the radio.
I was kind of stuck in the left-right paradigm. I heard your show by chance on a Saturday night. From there, I went on, joined the Free State Project, and become an amplifier. So, I mean, that's really the reason why I amp is because I know that if it wasn't for you guys being on as many stations as you are, I never would have found the ideas of liberty.
Your amp will directly change more lives by getting Free Talk Live in front of people looking for talk radio online and on the air. When you amp Free Talk Live, you get perks like access to the AMP-only Facebook group and AMP podcast. Visit amp.freetalklive.com. Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
I'm crazy about My Magic Mud. This is the most important oral care product created this millennium, and I'm not kidding. We all have different opinions on politics and issues, but we all have mouths. And I want yours to be as clean as possible, with teeth as bright as they were meant to be. I will never be without My Magic Mud. It's a little surprising, but man, does it work. If you only listen to one thing I say ever, go to mymagicmud.com and get 20% off with code FTL. mymagicmud.com, code FTL.
Got Telegram? You can follow our channel there and discuss show prep with other listeners at telegram.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. It is the Sunday night edition. It has been 4 days?
5 days.
5 days. I don't even know what day it is.
This is day 5.
Day 5 of the terrorist attacks that occurred here at the Free Talk Live studios. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And we were talking about the repercussions and the fallout of this particular terrorist attack that happened here in Keene, New Hampshire. And it seems to all be centered around Bitcoin. And I wanted to tell you that Bitcoin.com is the best source for learning about cryptocurrency. You can go there now and click on Get Started at the top of the page. Once you do that, you will find a cornucopia of information neatly organized by your needs. There's no longer any excuse for ignorance of this important and world-changing information. If you are knowledgeable about cryptocurrency already, please check out news.bitcoin.com, where you can get the latest headlines of all the news relevant to you. Bitcoin.com is your source for buying cryptocurrency, getting a wallet, mining, trading, and all the latest cryptocurrency news, all on a slick and easy-to-use website. Please visit bitcoin.com. You had several points that you wanted to get to.
So the first thing that I wanted to, so we talked about pseudonymous versus anonymous.
Right.
So now Monero, like, I don't like holding on to Monero, but I'm really glad it exists. So I as a personal choice, I don't like holding on to it because they do keep creating more Monero.
Mm-hmm.
The way that they stabilize it is by making a specific amount at it. Like, they create Monero, but at a specific rate, rather than having an ultimate cap like they do with Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, things like that.
Okay.
Now, the great thing about Monero is that it is actually anonymous. Like, there's enough cryptographic technology in it that they can't actually trace it back to you, even if they had some way of connecting that account to you. Now, most cryptocurrencies are pseudonymous, so you have these accounts, but they're not actually linked to you. It's not hooked up to your address or your social security number or anything like that.
Right.
So the thing about taking the cryptocurrency ATM out of the restaurant that they did. So as far as I know it, there were only two cryptocurrency ATMs in the city of Manchester. There was that one, and there's another one at a gas station, but that one has the Know Your Customer compliance.
Okay.
So if you want to get into the one remaining cryptocurrency ATM in Manchester, You have to fill out a form on there. You have to show your ID. You have to show them your state driver's license, all of that, in order to buy or sell any of the cryptocurrencies that they deal in. So part of this definitely seems to me that it's targeted at making sure that, okay, well, if we are going to get replaced by cryptocurrency, we still want to be able to forcibly regulate it and force you to pay your taxes. So we need to make sure that your name, your face, your social security number, your address are all hooked up to whatever wallet you're using.
Well, and that was part of the government's case during the detention hearing, right? Was that Ian charged an unusually high fee because he did not collect the information. So the selling point, like, why does Ian charge so much, was because with a wink and a nod, you didn't have to give him your personal information.
Ian's attorney did a pretty good job rebutting that, too. He was like,
of course he did.
It's not illegal to charge a market rate.
Right, which is true. Like, point rejected at that point.
Yeah,
but that was the case that they were trying to make, right?
Turns out you get to charge whatever you want when you're the only game in town.
Well, which means that last Bitcoin ATM.
I mean, government should know that.
Right? That's kind of their general operating principle.
They're a monopoly on the use of violence, at least.
And subsequent monopolies on, well, in Manchester, trash collection in lots of places, electricity, water,
sewer.
Things we can do without. Easily.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Get off the grid.
OTG.
Which is why, if you're the only game in town, by force, you can charge what you want and you can give whatever level of service you want.
Yeah. I was opining on last night's program what it might be like if the type of production they brought to the Free Talk Live studio and to the Bitcoin Embassy was instead brought to, say, a local church.
I was thinking about that too, because part of the indictment is, they cleverly disguised this as a church. It's like, no, this is a church.
It is a church.
I have spent hours and hours discussing with the Pope of the Church of the Invisible Hand the intricacies of spirituality, human consciousness, and the place of man in the universe.
Yes.
I have consulted them for spiritual advice. This is a church. And now the government wants to tell you, no, this one doesn't count.
So let me answer your question a little bit, because you opine no further, Captain.
All right.
They tried that. We just went through the anniversary of Waco, right? Which the
That's
ATF
right.
claims was, look at all of this just to serve a search warrant?
Yes.
That's what happens when the government shows up at another church that was actually a church, right? This is what they do.
And it used to be that the way that you didn't get Waco'd was you don't collect guns. It's like, okay, fine. Obviously, you're going to burn us down and shoot us when we collected some guns. So we don't collect guns anymore.
They put that in the the bail hearing, and also in the I don't remember how 22 guns and 1,000 rounds of ammunition.
Right.
That's just a fun weekend for most folks in New Hampshire.
That's what I said. Like, okay, that sounds like a weekend range trip, man. Like, what?
Was it you who said that?
Yeah, that was me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, and
as far as I know,
as far as I know, nobody had zero guns because it's illegal, and he doesn't want to get bent over for that. And Ian, I think, had one that he usually kept in a safe.
All of the guns that they're talking about that they found here, that existed here, I don't know if they're all still here or not, but were completely 100% legit. Signed, sealed, and delivered, all above board.
Right.
Yep. So completely legal in every way, shape, or form. There was not, because if it wasn't, they would have toted that out immediately. They'd have been like, several illegal military style. There were. I don't even know if any of them are military style. To tell you the
whatever
truth.
that means. What does that even mean?
And did any of those even belong to the two people that they were here to kidnap?
Nope.
Okay, right.
But they were in the house.
Ooh.
And scary guns with lots
You
of ammo.
lived with someone who had guns.
You rented an apartment to somebody who owned guns? How dare you, you criminal mastermind, you.
How American.
Yeah, so.
But yeah, it used to be that the way that you that you could avoid getting Waco'd was you just, okay, fine, we won't have many guns. But no, that doesn't work anymore.
You shouldn't even have to do that, though.
Well, should.
Especially in America.
Should? Well, you shouldn't get kidnapped for, like, moving money. You shouldn't get, everything broken for them to kidnap you. Like, there's a lot of shoulds here.
Right. Yeah, you shouldn't get kidnapped, terrorized, raided, assaulted, kidnapped for voluntarily exchanging code, which is what Bitcoin is. It's code. It's computer code. It's software with other people voluntarily.
So they called this it's going to be a complex case of some kind. And I think this may be like the case that hashes out a lot of those definitions.
Yes.
Because they're going to have to prove some things.
Yes.
And they're going to have to define Bitcoin and cryptocurrency a certain way that it's going to set a precedent going forward.
Right. And there's going to be an interesting, at least in my opinion, I believe there's going to be an interesting intersection between the state of New Hampshire and the federal government with regards to the definitions.
I would hope so.
Because the federal government, if I understand it correctly, considers cryptocurrency, Bitcoin, Bitcoin Cash, all those cryptocurrencies to be a commodity, whereas the state of New Hampshire considers it computer code, as I just said.
Okay, and if it's a commodity, where's the money transmittal service?
Right.
Right. You're vending a commodity.
Right.
Like you would, a candy bar or a soda.
And it's worth mentioning, too, that, okay, this is code. That's what this is information.
It is.
One computer talked to another computer. So you are literally having an electronic conversation with a record. That's all you're doing.
Against the law!
That is what these people are being prosecuted for. They had an electronic conversation with a record.
Yes.
So, if anyone out there thinks that, if you just stay away from these dangerous cryptocurrencies, well, guess what? They'll be coming for you next.
Well, and code, computer code, is just numbers and letters written down. And so, in that respect, it's also speech.
Or just ones and zeros if you go down.
Which is heavily protected. When we come back, is this the end of America?
Hey developers, do you want to add Bitcoin to your apps, website? Want to make something creative? AnyPay is the way. We made a super simple API just for you at anypay.dev. You don't need any special knowledge of Bitcoin. Plug it into your app or website and it just works. Get paid on the transactions your users make. Whether you're brand new to web development or have decades of experience, you can add Bitcoin to anything with anypay.dev.
Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
There are basically two types of advertising, direct response and branding. Radio's great for direct response with its low cost to listener ratio, but audio can't be beat for branding, which is a longer term endeavor. You want to be the first thing that someone thinks of when they think about your product or service. If you have a local business that you want kept top of mind in your community, call the station. If you need national reach, Free Talk Live's got around 200 radio stations, millions of monthly listening sessions, can suit all budgets, and if we don't think we're right for you, we'll tell you. Email me, mark@freetalklive.com.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 2 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
A record number of migrants are crossing the U.S. border from Mexico. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. Many of the migrants' unaccompanied children, more than 15,000, already are in U.S. custody.
At some point, President Biden says he will visit the southern border, but asked if he wants a first-hand look at facilities housing migrants, including unaccompanied children. The president said,
I know what's going on in those facilities.
President Biden spoke after getting off Marine One. He told reporters more can be done to send a message to migrants not to make the journey to the U.S., including, he says, reestablishing a process for individuals to make their case in their home countries. At the White House, Jared Halpern, Fox News.
Former President Trump releasing a statement highly critical of the Biden administration, claiming changes in policies are to blame for the current problems. A large and rowdy crowd is causing problems in Miami Beach, the city declaring a state of emergency Saturday.
Another night of chaos, disorder, police shooting pepper balls into the crowd, and arrests being made as police enforce the first night of Miami Beach's new state of emergency 8 p.m. curfew. Instead of everyone voluntarily dispersing, though, at 8 o'clock, a packed street refused until by 9 p.m. police had had enough, brought in the SWAT armored vehicle, and cleared the crowd.
Fox's Phil Keating from Florida. The first top Biden White House official visited Afghanistan on Sunday.
U.S. Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin made a surprise visit to Afghanistan, his first trip to the country since joining the Biden administration. The traveling press pool reported that Austin arrived in Kabul and met at length with Afghan President Ashraf Ghani. The visit comes amid ongoing peace efforts between the Taliban and the Afghan government, as well as a planned May 1st U.S. troop withdrawal. U.S. commanders warned last week of chaos in Afghanistan if the withdrawal moves forward. The plans are being used by President Biden to get both parties to the negotiating table.
Fox's Trey Yangst. America's listening to Fox News.
If you're using anything other than Indeed for your hiring, you are wasting your time. Hire great people faster with Indeed. Only pay for results and get back time in your schedule. Indeed.com helps you find quality candidates instantly with Indeed Instant Match. Indeed searches through the millions of resumes in their database to help show you great candidates instantly. Get started right now with a free $75 credit to upgrade your job post at Indeed.com/Fox. Indeed.com/Fox. Offer valid through March 31st. Terms and conditions apply.
New Yorkers gathered in Brooklyn today to mourn the thousands of loved ones who died in nursing homes because of the coronavirus. Fox's Alex Hogan.
That memorial wrapped up, but it brought together families, strangers who shared the same loss, the inability to see some of their loved ones at that time and hold funerals during the early months of the pandemic. But today, many of them gathered to mourn and say some of those final goodbyes. It's been nearly 1 year since the order on March 25th, which sent recovering COVID-19 patients back to nursing homes. More than 15,000 New Yorkers died in long-term care, and the event was named We Care. That is in response to a comment made by the governor about nursing home deaths earlier this year. Cuomo did say, "Who cares?" although it was about New York having a lower death count than other states.
New York's governor is under investigation for those nursing home deaths, both by the FBI and the U.S. attorney in Brooklyn. Some bad news for Lakers fans.
The Lakers, the defending NBA champs, are out 18-year veteran and four-time champ LeBron James. So how did he get injured? It was the second quarter, a scramble for a loose ball, and then bam, the Hawks' Solomon Hill fell right on LeBron's right leg, forcing him to roll his ankle. LeBron clearly in pain. LeBron was still able to stand on his own and limp back to the bench, and he even stayed in the game a little longer, even hitting a three from the corner. But soon after
I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm.
Police in Lehman, Michigan describe a local student's recently foiled plans to commit a deadly school shooting as, quote, embarrassingly bad. Authorities apprehended 17-year-old Trent Bayer Thursday after finding him in an empty hallway struggling to load a pathetically small caliber pistol while simultaneously attempting to unfold an inaccurate map of the school. Lehman Police Chief Ethan Holman elaborated several ways Bayer's strategy could have been more effective, including setting off a homemade explosive in the teacher's lounge, executing popular students first, and at the very least purchasing some military fatigues.
You're not going to intimidate anyone by wearing a tucked-in button-down shirt and pleated trousers.
In other news, a jar of change on a dresser is sadly factoring into a number of financial decisions. A teen zebra doesn't give a shit how much you honk, it's not getting out of the road. And Dad's new 20-year-old Thai boyfriend really sucks at categories. And don't forget to never ever drink Pepsi Cola, whose dipshit marketing team backed out of a full-page ad buy at the last minute. For more news, visit theonion.com/newsbeat.
Free Talk Live.
Yes, you are in the right place. It's time for church. It is Sunday.
Sunday.
We'll sell you the whole seat, but you'll only need the edge.
That's my favorite one. I love it when you do that one.
I am the Reverend Captain Kickass, and this is Free Talk Live. Joining me in the studio, it's
Peakless Mountaineer
and Richie Rich.
We've been talking about the terrorist attacks of this past Tuesday here on the Free Talk Live studios and the fallout from that. There is a legal aid fundraiser going on. These folks do need legal help. They need proper attorney representation to fight these terrorists. And if you would like to donate, please visit thecrypto6.com. That's thecrypto and then the number 6.com. And that is the official fundraiser. There are a number of different cryptocurrencies that are accepted there. This money goes directly towards defending the Crypto 6. So please visit thecrypto6.com.
Especially if all their assets and bank accounts and whatnot have been seized by the government.
Before we went to break, I asked a question, is this the end of America? And you guys chuckled a little bit, which is great. Sometime in the early 20 or late 2000s, maybe early 2010s, a person named Naomi Wolf wrote a book called 2008, actually, wrote a book called The End of America, Letter of Warning to a Young Patriot. In this book, and this is her telling the story now, this is from AIER.com, the American Institute for Economic Research.
Great site, by the way.
Naomi Wolf writes, in The End of America, a Letter of Warning to a Young Patriot, I warned, based on my study of closing democracies in the 20th century history, that America needed to beware of a slide toward totalitarianism. I warned that would-be tyrants, whether they are on the left or on the right, always use a map to close down democracies and that they always take the same 10 steps. Whether it's invoke a terrifying internal and external threat, create a thug caste, target the press, or the final step, suspend the rule of law, these steps are always recognizable, and they always work to crush democracies and establish tyrannies. At that time, the global threat of terrorism was the specter that powers invoked in order to attack our freedoms. The book was widely read and discussed both at the time of its publication and for the last 12 years. Periodically over the last decade, people would ask me when and if we had reached Step 10. And just to reiterate, Step 10 is suspend the rule of law. We, my brave publisher, Chelsea Green, and I, are releasing the first and last chapters of The End of America now in 2021 for free, and I am calling the sequel to this book, which I am now writing, Step 10, because as of March of last year, we have indeed, I am so sad to say, arrived at and begun to inhabit Step 10 of the 10 steps to fascism.
Yep.
Comments, concerns?
Well, I mean,
so far so good?
so far so good. That whole step 10 thing, they will suspend the rule of law, but they will do it lawfully and contradictory. Right?
Yeah, that is one of the things they are constantly trying to uphold their image without actually providing the services of justice. So, for example, like on sort of a tangent, one of the big discussions that's here and there is about the Rule 230 and its protections of platforms.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are like, we need to repeal it, and some people are like, no, we need to keep it. Well, so here's the thing.
Most people don't understand it to begin with.
And here's the thing. So what that thing says is that if you're a platform, you're not responsible for what's on you. So just like the phone company isn't responsible for what people say on the phone, since you're a platform, you're not responsible for what people put there. Whereas an editor is responsible for what's in a newspaper. And here's the thing. They have obviously been editorializing. They've been taking people off left and right, largely because they don't agree with their political opinions.
Oh, yeah.
And our supposed rule of law refuses to prosecute any of them, saying that they are still protected by Rule 230. And the reason for this is very, very simple. These are powerful organizations. We're talking about YouTube, Facebook, Twitter. These people have so much power that they are no longer accessible to the same rules that are supposed to be governing everybody else.
Yeah, multi-billion-dollar companies for sure.
Yep. And that's exactly the way you lose the rule of law without it appearing to be so, is they make a show, a pretense of still having it without giving you equal access.
Well, and when you get that big, you start writing the laws for the lawmakers.
Right, I was going to mention, and working in concert with governments is what makes it fascism.
Yep.
So, Naomi Wolf continues, though in 2008, I did not explicitly see that a medical pandemic would be the vehicle for moving the entire globe into Step 10. I have at various points warned of the dangers of medical crises as vehicles that tyranny can exploit to justify suppressions of civil rights. Today, a much-hyped medical crisis has taken on the role of being used as a pretext to strip us all of core freedoms that fears of terrorism did not ultimately achieve. So, in other words, at the time she wrote the book, terrorism was the big, boogeyman du jour, and now it's the COVID. But terrorism was really only effective like here in the United States, maybe in, Europe a bit, like the westernized countries. Yeah. But COVID has expanded all around the globe, as Kim Jong-il would say from Team America.
Yep.
In 2015, I cautioned that infectious diseases could be used as a justification for ushering in a suppression of liberties, always under the guise of emergency measures. In 2019, a book of mine, Outrages, Sex Censorship, and the Criminalization of Love, showed how terrible infectious disease epidemics such as cholera and typhus had been exploited in the 19th century by the British state in order to crush freedoms and invade people's privacy. I wrote about how the first anti-vaccination movements among those British parents in the Victorian period. That book was initially canceled, and its message of warning has been continually assailed.
How prescient that they would know, like in 2019, they're like, well, this is coming. We better cancel this book before people are made aware of it.
Almost as if they were planning on doing something like this later.
That is what I'm suggesting.
In fact, it says that book, too, was prescient. In early March of 2020, of course, a global pandemic was announced, COVID-19. In the immediate wake of the announcement and the narrativization of the pandemic, most of the elements of a locked-in 360-degree totalitarianism have been put into place in most of the countries in the West, including what had been robust democracies. I just want to make a mention here. Well, it says it all happened very quickly and comprehensively. And I just want to make a mention before we go on that Naomi Wolf is a bit of a lefty. In this article, sort of, you could tell by her writing, she's talking about democracies and not republics and all that kind of stuff. So just for your information, the listeners out there, that's the perspective she comes from. That being said, her points are very good.
Yeah.
In the United States, she said, and this is a list here. So in the United States, we currently now have 1. Emergency measures in many states which suspend due process of law. This is the hallmark of a police state. COVID-19 is invoked as the reason for the introduction of emergency law, but there is no end point for lifting these emergency laws.
One of the biggest problems with this whole COVID thing, from a freedom and liberty perspective, right, is how easily it was to get the vast majority of the population behind it, right?
Yes.
Even if you were a liberty-minded person and believed that this thing was as damaging as they claimed it to be in the beginning, right? You still should not have supported these taking away of freedoms, the taking away of liberties from anyone, because they just built on that throughout the entire quote-unquote pandemic.
Right. And there's more to this list, and it is a creepy list, but very prescient, as we've said 3 times now. We'll have more of this list coming up. This is Free Talk Live.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at baenbooks.com.
Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
AnyPay believes that Bitcoin is meant to improve your life, make it easier to do business, connect you with more people in the world at under a penny every time. That's kind of why we laugh at BTC. It used to be free the market, free the world. Now it's just hodl and have fun staying poor. That's not what the world needs. We need honest money that works for everyone. If you care, join us at anypayx.com.
The Free State Project has reached its goal of 20,000 liberty lovers who've pledged to move to New Hampshire and get active to achieve liberty in our lifetime. Perhaps you're trying to figure out what part of New Hampshire should be your destination. If so, consider Keene. You'll find more than 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com. Keene is famous for its historic, publicity-generating activism, as well as being the liberty media capital of the world. It's home to freekeene.com, New Hampshire's destination for liberty activism, news, and opinion. For years, we've been compiling over 150 reasons to move to Keene at move.freekeene.com, where you'll learn about some of what's happening here and what makes Keene a great place to live. If you love liberty, you'll probably enjoy anywhere you end up in the Shire. But do your due diligence first. Please visit move.freekeene.com for the full list of over 150 reasons to move to Keene. That's move.freekeene.com. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Looking for a great real estate investment? Consider New Hampshire, which is ground zero for the Liberty Movement. Your first call should be to Mark Worden from Porcupine Real Estate. He's more than just a real estate agent. He's your New Hampshire concierge. Where are the best places to live? Do you want farm, city, the burbs, or forest? Do you want a duplex or multifamily building so that renters pay your mortgage? There are homes in all price ranges in New Hampshire, and Mark can help with financing too. Invest in liberty and property. Mark Worden can help.
PorcupineRealEstate.com.
Do you appreciate what we do? Help us advertise, market, and promote for just $5 a month at amp.freetalklive.com.
Welcome back to, well, it's church time with the Reverend Captain Kickass here at Free Talk Live. That's right. It's time.
Church time.
For the sermon.
Because you're still allowed to go to church around here.
That's right. Well,
For
and
now. Well, some churches.
Technically, we are broadcasting from a church.
That's what I'm saying.
You know. In the studio tonight, it's myself, the captain, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about this article from the American Institute for Economic Research, in which author Naomi Wolf is outlining the things that we have now that are related to fascism here in the United States.
It's here.
Oh, it definitely is. And she wrote a book called The End of America, Letter of Warning to a Young Patriot back in 2008. Which outlines the 10 common factors that she calls closing societies that they have. This would be, the fall of Rome, the end of the USSR, the Soviet Russia, whatever you want to call that thing when they broke up, the end of Nazi Germany, right? These are 10 things that they all share. And so she says that not only has the United States experienced all 9, and now we're in the 10th stage, is what she says in this article.
Break it up.
And one thing that I wanted to mention about this whole pandemic thing. So in the Civil War, there were a whole bunch of major changes to the U.S. government that no one really took notice of at the time because there was just too much going on for them to have noticed it. And you see a lot of the same thing happening now. So here in New Hampshire, for example, the governor decided, I am going to, by executive order, pull these 3 parts out of this law. So we had a law where it was optional and you had to opt in, and if you had any religious problems with it, then it wouldn't be enforced on you. All 3 of these were part of the law governing our usage of a list of all vaccines made in the state.
Okay.
And by executive order, he removed all 3 of those parts of that law. Now, that is a complete violation of the separation of powers. But no one can notice it because there's just too much happening all at once.
This is one of those pen is mightier than the sword moments.
Indeed.
Right.
And I mean, it's just a matter of people are upset and are confused and are just looking for guidance and leadership and don't care whether it is done properly.
Well, part of that is ignorance, right? They're being ignorant of what the government is, the outcome, right? I always, as a guy I've been around systems for so long that I can't even remember when I wasn't. Everything is a system in a way, shape, or form. And systems are dependent on the outcome, right? You design a system to do X, and you evaluate the system on how well it performs X. A refrigerator is a system. It is designed to keep stuff cold or frozen, depending on your refrigerator, of course. Maybe it's got some fancy stuff. Maybe it's connected to the internet.
We call that part the freezer.
Ice maker, that kind of stuff. Thank you very much, Richard.
At any rate.
I sit corrected.
It is a system designed to refrigerate.
A system designed to refrigerate. And so you must evaluate that system on how well it performs, how it was designed. Now, I ask all of you listeners, because I know you guys have asked yourselves already, and many people, I ask the listeners, what is government designed to do?
That's the dichotomy right there. There is the perception of what the government is designed to do. And that's the part we go like, well, this thing sucks. Look how inefficient this is. Look how bureaucratic this is. Look how stupid this is. Look at all these rules they put in place for you. And you go like, the government is the worst thing possible. But if the system is designed to oppress, to keep down, to rob, to steal, to kidnap even, it is a pretty damn efficient system.
Let's not forget murder.
And murder, yeah.
Well, it's a lot like being forcibly sold an oven that you call a refrigerator. So
Yes.
I put a gun to your head and I say, you are going to buy this refrigerator. Well, not much choice there, so you buy that refrigerator. It's in your house now. And, turns out everyone else on the block, they've also been required to buy this refrigerator, and you're talking to each other, and it's like, this refrigerator is just terrible.
It does the opposite of what it's supposed to do.
It doesn't seem to be keeping anything cold at all. I put my meats in there, and they've gone bad the same day.
It actually, cooked them. It's really weird.
But for some reason, whenever I use it to do the opposite of refrigerating, it's great at that. I mean, it is just amazing at doing the opposite of what it's supposed to do.
Yes. So Naomi Wolf's 10th step, of course, to fascism is the suspension of the rule of law. That's her 10th step, and she says we're there now. She's giving us a list now of what we have in the United States now so that you can identify the outcome of the system. And number one was emergency measures that suspend due process.
Check.
Number two, the closures of schools which break any social contract, quote unquote, with the next generation.
So check, but also a weird one.
Yeah.
Right? Because government schools in general are designed to brainwash that generation to believing in the state. So I don't know why.
I've been thinking about this one. Hang on. The commonality would be if they weren't government mandated schools, this would still be a number 2 sign, right? The closing of schools, right?
Yeah.
If they were all free market schools and the government came in and closed them, then this would definitely be a sign.
Yeah.
And while it is deeply unfortunate the terrors that these do to human minds, they at least do provide a sense of stability. It is a daily and weekly grind that this is what is stable in your life. You have to go to school. Yeah. It provides stability, continuity, as she talks about, so it gives you a stable worldview.
Well, and that's part of the brainwashing for a factory job where you just go in, you punch your clock, you do your thing, you go home, you pay your taxes. Like, it's designed for that.
That's the Prussian school system that you're talking about,
right,
which was explicitly designed to create obedient factory workers. Right. It was not designed to have you, be in for 12 years and make you an intelligent person. It was designed for an efficient process of training people just enough so that they could pull the levers and push the buttons and, make whatever product it was in the factory that they were making. Now, they were effective at doing that, and governments around the world decided, hey, we're going to adopt that.
Right. So closing schools down up front seems contradictory to that end goal.
Yep.
So I'm still, mentally processing
but here's
what
the
real reason
thing.
is.
By removing you from this factory setting that they obviously want to brainwash you with, they are removing you from a point of stability in your life.
Okay.
And by removing you from stability at every possible turn, they remove you from the stability of your job. They remove you from the stability of places you can gather with people you know, from the stability of seeing other human beings that you are familiar with. By removing as much stability as possible in a short period of time, they force you to look to authority to provide a new stability.
Yeah, but that authority was already the stability that people were looking for.
When we get back, we'll talk more about these 12 points and see what else Naomi Wolf has to say as far as the end of America is concerned. This is Free Talk Live.
This is Michael Dean from the Freedom Fiends. I've run websites since 1996 and have used over a dozen web hosts in that time. AgristHosting.com is the only one that hasn't broken my heart. Agrist Hosting's uptime and service is stellar, and their DDoS mitigation is the best I've seen. That's important because if you tell the truth in this world, you'll ruffle feathers. And some people will try dirty tricks to silence your voice. No matter what the haters hit us with, Agrist Hosting keeps our websites online. If you have a mission-critical commercial presence or a world-changing activism site, you cannot tolerate any skullduggery. So go with AgristHosting.com. Have a WordPress or blog site, but you're not satisfied with performance or uptime? Or just want raw hosting? Want to pay with Bitcoin? Agrist Hosting specializes in high-performance hosting with personalized service. Go to AgristHosting.com and click on the button that says Get Hosted. That's agristhosting.com.
We have some good news. The indictments against Ross Ulbricht in the District of Maryland were dismissed with prejudice, meaning they can never be refiled. This is especially good because those indictments contain the only charge ever made that Ross engaged in murder for hire. This was a serious allegation that Ross Ulbricht denies. It was never prosecuted or ruled on by a jury, but was trumpeted by the federal government and the media as if it were proven fact. The Maryland court held these indictments for almost 5 years, poisoning Ross's case and leaving him under a cloud of unproven allegations. As explained in Ross's appeal to the Supreme Court, the fact that the judge used these allegations to give Ross a draconian sentence of double life without parole violated his Sixth Amendment right to a jury trial. Judges are required to issue sentences based on convictions decided by a jury, not unproven allegations never even charged at trial. Although this is a positive development, the dropped indictment will not set Ross free. Now, a presidential pardon is Ross's only hope of freedom. Sign the petition at freeross.org. freeross.org. Are you tired of governments murdering people around the world? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin cannot be inflated or controlled by any government. By using their money, you are helping the state. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at bitcoin.com. That's bitcoin.com.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it. Join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for ForkFest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. ForkFest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and ForkFest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. Where better to celebrate Independence Day than around other freedom-loving activists in the Shire? You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you're planning an event for ForkFest, be sure to let others know in advance. You can connect with fellow ForkFesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the ForkFest forum. Links to those are on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar for June 28th through July 4th, 2021. We'll see you at forkfest.party.
Our Matrix server is about as free as internet chat can be. Join the existing rooms or create your own at chat.freetalklive.com.
You are listening to Free Talk Live.
That's right. Still on the air, suckers.
You can't get rid of us that easily, Mr. Government. Or did I just assume government's gender? Ooh, interesting.
Pronouns are they, them, or?
They're definitely a they or them.
Well, I will say that they are mythologically masculine as tyrants, so.
Indeed they are. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about this article from AIER, the American Institute for Economic Research, in which Naomi Wolf, the author of The End of America, Letter of Warning to a Young Patriot, is outlining the symptoms or signs of fascism in the United States. Number 3, we covered number 1 and 2. Number 1 was emergency measures that suspend due process. Number 2 was the closure of schools. Now, from my perspective, closing government schools is fine. Closing free market or voluntary schools, not fine.
Well, and the government school closures, because those unions don't want to go back to work, right? They're almost forcing people to find alternatives and free market, free schooling.
I kind of find that pretty great, really.
Right.
Yeah.
But I think that's an unintended consequence.
Yeah, I believe so as well.
Well, and I mean, the only statistics that I've looked at basically show that this doubled the amount of homeschooling. So homeschooling went from more or less 5% to about 10%. So that's a huge and very positive change.
And the longer they keep the public schools closed, the higher that number will go.
Item number 3, bills being passed for, quote, vaccine passports, unquote. We actually talked about this on Free Talk Live not too long ago, a week ago, I believe.
We called that at the beginning.
We did.
We said that was coming.
A year ago.
A year ago,
we said, okay, you guys know what's next, right? They're going to papers, please. You're going to have to prove that you're vaccinated to go to like a concert or a sports event or comedy show or whatever.
And laughed at.
Yeah.
And berated
Bills
on
are
air.
being passed now for vaccine passports, which bypass the Fourth Amendment to the Constitution by allowing the government and big tech companies to intrude on medical privacy and to create a comprehensive digital surveillance state. All true. Number 4, forced closures of businesses.
That happened way early on.
About a year ago.
Yeah.
By intervening directly in the economy and allowing certain businesses to flourish. Amazon, Walmart, Target are named here. I could think of McDonald's, Wendy's, Burger King, what else? Hardware
Dairy
stores,
Queen.
Home Depot.
How terribly unexpected that the large corporations that spend an enormous amount of money lobbying and contributing to politicians' campaign funds seem to be the essential businesses.
I remember one of the
weird.
earlier governor's orders here, it was like golf courses and drive-in movie theaters was like the first to reopen. Like, really? Those things?
Yeah.
Well, I want to go golfing.
And I want to go to a drive-in movie theater
And of
with
course,
my date.
And of course, these large corporations were allowed to remain open at the expense of small businesses.
Oh, of course.
Main Street shops, restaurants, and sole proprietor businesses in general. The state has merged government and corporations in a way that is characteristic of Italian fascism or of modern Chinese communism. Indeed, the fact that tech stocks rose by 27% in 1 quarter of the pandemic shows one driver of this war against human freedoms and human society. Every minute human beings spend in a classroom, at the pub or restaurant, or in a church or synagogue is time that tech companies lose money by being unable to harvest that data. COVID policies driven by COVID-19 response, tech companies ensure that humans are not allowed to connect except for via digital platforms.
Even more of a reason why they took down the crypto church here.
The reason is both profit as well as social control. Now, we'll hearken back to the days of the early New England in the United States of America. Where was the rebellion? Where did it start? Where was it seeding?
The meeting house.
The meeting house. The pubs.
Yeah.
Right? People getting together for a pint or whatever. That's where people get together and talk about the revolution, if you will.
Yep. And where they'll be talking about it again.
Well,
and I remember, God, it must have been 20 friggin' years ago that it was a Republican talking point that we can't let the government pick winners and losers in the market. Remember that?
Oh, my gosh.
They brought it up. No one ever fixed it. And now it is established policy that the government specifically picks winners and losers in the market.
Yeah. Too big to fail, right?
Too big to fail.
You get the bailout, big company that everyone uses, but you small company who could have benefited by the inefficiencies of the larger company and people not being able to go there anymore? Nope. Too small to care.
Yep. Number 5, restrictions on assembly. Some states, such as California, are fining people for seeing their friends in their homes and making it unlawful for kids to have play dates with their friends. Massachusetts restricted gatherings of more than 10 people at a time, forcing synagogues and churches to stay closed, in spite of a Supreme Court ruling against states forcing churches to close. Parks, playgrounds, and beaches have been closed off. In countries such as Britain, people are fined for leaving their homes for more than an hour's exercise in a day. All things we have covered here on Free Talk Live. All of them.
And I gotta say, I know I've said this before, but when no one struck back, when no one said anything, when they closed the churches, I mean, wow.
We said it.
Well, yeah,
yes.
we do. But like normal people had no problem with the fact that they just closed your church.
Yeah.
And I got to say, if you let the government close your church, who do you really worship?
The state. That was one of the beautiful things about the local Liberty community here is we continued to gather.
Yes.
In whatever building we could, gain access to.
Or even out in the open. In the town square.
Right.
So.
And I was raised with a lot of these stories, and I remember very specifically that there was an oppressive king who said that you weren't allowed to pray, and one of their heroes prayed anyway.
Yes.
Remember how we have stories telling you that this is how we respond to this? You do it anyway because God is more important than the government?
The thing that public schools, and maybe even private schools, I'm not sure, fail to instill in the minds of children is that every time there has been an evil government, right? Fascist, dictator, whatever it is, every time it has been clamored for and welcomed by the people. People are dumb.
Well, and you're seeing that again with the COVID thing.
Yes, we are so seeing that again. Speaking of which, number 6, forced face coverings. In Massachusetts, people are fined if they are not wearing masks outdoors.
Poor guys.
Even children as young as 5 are forced to do so by law. Again, this mandate has not been undergirded by peer-reviewed studies showing medical necessity, and there is no endpoint proffered for these extraordinary violations of personal freedom. Now, I know somebody who may or may not be listening. They usually do listen, and they're tired of hearing about the masks. But here we have somebody on the left, right, going, hey, forced face coverings. This is not cool, guys. And guess what? The science, she's followed it, and she says, well, it hasn't been undergirded by peer-reviewed studies showing medical necessity.
Well, whether we get to it or not tonight, one of the articles that I had brought in, right, was the people getting anxiety because they no longer have to wear a mask. So now they're pushing that narrative as well, right?
Wow.
Yeah,
okay.
And that's the thing. Like I just said, who's more important in your life, the deity you worship or the government? Well, so the deity you worship is clearly less important to you. Mm-hmm. And here, okay, so plenty of people will wear Stars of David or crosses or what have you. The face covering, the mask, is their symbol of obedience and piety to the government.
It's definitely a virtue signal.
And it's no longer legally required that people wear these masks in some of these places.
More Free Talk Live on the way.
House of Representatives Bill 323, the IHOP should stay open all night so we can get some Pancakes Act. This bill was submitted for immediate review very late last night under the provisions of the National Emergency Legislation Act.
Can we dim the lights? It's really bright.
H.R. 323 would by federal order require all IHOP restaurants to, quote, remain open 24 hours effective right this minute, even if some manager has to get out of bed and drive down here to start making some pancakes.
Well, we stand by the bill.
Right. We wrote it, apparently.
This bill would also require the federal government pay to build a tram or monorail or whatever connecting the Black Sheep Pub on North Capitol Street to all IHOP restaurants
I think
in the
we made
city.
some illustrations of
The bill
that.
gives the estimated cost of the tram as probably not even that much. You are wasting my time and the time of this committee.
Excuse me, I gotta go.
What? Congressman, this committee is still in session. You can't...
This is the Onion News Network.
So you've signed the Shire Society Declaration and are planning your move to New Hampshire to be around more liberty-oriented people. Next, sign up for the Shire Society Forum at forum.shiresociety.com. There are a bunch of people there who are already in the Shire, and they want to meet you. If you're already in the Shire physically, you should also come by the forums. Remember, not everyone uses Facebook. New people are signing up for the Shire Society Forum every month, so drop in and say hello at forum.shiresociety.com. There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com.
Excuse me, is this where I get a license to start a new business?
I wouldn't be hasty. You have to get a license to go out of business, too, you know.
Oh, well, look, I've invented this little anti-gravity machine, see?
Oh, is that why you're walking 2 inches above the floor?
Oh, yes, it's very comfortable. It saves on shoe leather.
Yeah, well, you have to fill out these forms and report to the Human Services Department of Manpower Orientation and register with the Fair Employment Practice Commission, the Wage and Hour Division of the Employment Standards Administration, the State Sales and Income Tax Division, the Internal Revenue Service, and the Social Security Administration of the Department of Health, Education, and Welfare, and, of course, OSHA.
OSHA? I thought that was a little town in Wisconsin.
You'll find out. Say, floating around like that could be dangerous. Have you checked with the Consumer Product Safety Commission?
Well, not yet.
Come to think of it, you actually are flying, aren't you? Look, you need to go over to the Federal Aviation Administration and the Transportation...
It's very hard to get anything done these days if you're in business, but free enterprise built this country. Think what could happen if we don't keep it free. A public service of this station and the Center for the Defense of Free Enterprise, Bellevue, Washington.
We just can't have people floating about unregulated, you know.
What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone, you forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection? You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. The new 4th edition of Healing Our World, The Compassion of Libertarianism, will take your understanding of liberty to a deeper level and has over 1,300 updated references, new cartoons, and a foreword by Dr. Ron Paul. With discounts for multiple book purchases, the 4th edition of Healing Our World is a great gift for the liberals, pragmatists, environmentalists, and Christians in your life who think libertarianism is cold-hearted. Get yours today at healing.freetalklive.com and use promo code FTL for a $5 discount.
You can stick it to the man and big tech. Join our FTL social mastodon at social.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is. Time for church.
Free church.
The Church of Kickass is in session here on Free Talk Live.
With your minister.
And I am your host, the Reverend Captain Kickass. Joining me,
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
We've been talking about this article from the American Institute of Economic Research, and the author, Naomi Wolf, has outlined 12 signs that we are certainly in a fascist state. And we'll just continue on. Number 7, suppression of free speech. Big tech companies are censoring critics of COVID policy and vaccine policy, as well as censoring views that are on the right hand of the political spectrum. Incitement, a word that has a long history in the 20th century for closing down free speech, has been weaponized by the left to shut down First Amendment freedom of expression. In other forms of censorship and management of speech and public debate, tycoons such as Bill Gates have been funding major news outlets with millions of dollars directed to COVID education. As a result, dissenting voices are marginalized and shamed, or even threatened with legal action or job losses.
And it's worth mentioning that this really is an extension of all of the things they put into place with the USA Patriot Act and all of that, except that they're turning their anti-terrorist tactics against their own citizenship.
Agreed.
So, I mean, for one thing, and this really is the most terrifying thing to me, they are now seriously talking in, like, powerful circles about re-education.
Yes.
They are talking about re-educating people that disagree with them.
Yep.
So I might be a little bit in the minority on this one because I'm not all that concerned with big tech censorship because it's not really a free speech issue, and there are alternatives which we can migrate to. They're not a lot. They're not popular.
They
but
don't work?
Exist. What do you mean they don't work?
Okay, so BitChute, Library, all of those. I haven't gotten one of those to work on my phone. Not once, not ever.
It's still suppression of free speech is still occurring even outside of big tech. Big tech is just the one that she chose to highlight for this article.
And,
Fine.
And I mean, people talk about this, oh, well, their companies, different rules apply. Okay, so here's a couple things. Number one, most of these companies that are in big tech and big social networks and all of that were actually funded by extensions of the Central Intelligence Agency, and you can actually see that documented. They are certainly receiving protections that would never be granted to anyone else.
Yep.
I mean, like I was talking about earlier about how they still apply Section 230 in spite of the fact that these are clearly editorialized.
But I have claimed on air, and I will stand by, that the future will be federated, right? Like we have matrix servers, right? We use Mastodon for social media.
Yep.
Big tech can't get their hands on that.
Right.
Free speech cannot be suppressed on those platforms as easily as they can be on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
As soon as these social media companies can figure out a way to, I'm going to use the word unite, or in other words, work on or within or become their own blockchain of some sort, right? When those two technologies intercede so that all of the social medias that people use are decentralized in such a way that there is no Mark Zuckerberg or, enter, person heading up tech company here type of a thing. I think you are correct, Richie Rich, that we will see all the federation happen.
But it's also our responsibility and maybe our duty, right, to promote those things, to highlight those alternatives, and begin migrating the vast majority of people over to those platforms so that they can release themselves from the constraints of big tech and Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.
Good point. Moving on, number 8, science has been hijacked in the interests of biofascism by heavily funding scientific commentators such as Dr. Fauci, I call him Dr. Falsey, in the United States, Imperial College and SAGE in the UK, Dr. Christensen Drosten in Germany, a dominant set of policies and pronouncements about COVID that benefit a very small group of bad actors, notably tech and pharmaceutical interests acting in concert with governments. They have had secured, credentialized supporters, but when other scientists or institutions seek debate or transparency, they are threatened with job loss or reputationally attacked, as is the case with Dr. Simon Gadecki of the Netherlands, who was told to keep quiet by his university when he challenged the flawed COVID PCR test protocols.
Have you heard people referring to their experimental vaccination COVID jab as their Fauci ouchie, humorously?
Oh, man, that's good.
Because it's funny, right?
That's good.
Oh, did you get your Fauci ouchie?
That's pretty good.
Because that makes light of the serious nature of the situation.
I mean, as a humorist, I find that humorous.
I'm still astonished that people are still listening to Dr. Anthony Fauci.
I mean, yeah, he's very fashy.
Oh, yeah.
That's true.
And so here's the thing. So science, like the fundamental nature of science is that
cannot be questioned.
Right.
Cannot be questioned.
Yeah. The science. There is a single monolithic view, and that's how science works.
It's such an oxymoron because the basis of science is questioning.
Right.
And falsifiability.
Remember the foundational mythology of science about how you had like Galileo and how he was he was treated poorly because he was questioning the agreed upon view of reality.
Right.
And that was how science started to gain a foothold in our culture.
Einstein, Tesla, right? They were all criticized similarly because when they would talk, people were like, you're from another universe. You're talking about, we don't understand what you're talking about.
You're challenging the doctrine.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing about really super smart people is they sound like crazy people to really dumb people.
And the whole point of science was that you could...
To paraphrase, yes.
And the point was that you could test these things, that different people who may or may not have credentials could test these things. They could perform the experiment, find out whether this was so or not.
Agreed.
That was the idea. But okay, step one, you have to question the orthodoxy. You have to question the established worldview in order to make any progress in science. Then you test it and find out. But no, stop at step one. How dare you question the science?
So, number 9, data have been hijacked to serve the interests of biofascism. This manipulation of truth, which was foreshadowed, or which I foreshadowed, this is Naomi Wolf speaking, which I foreshadowed in The End of America, is typical of Soviet censors. COVID platforms such as COVID-19 tracking and Johns Hopkins University, funded by technocrats such as Michael Bloomberg, serve unverifiable COVID data that directly affect the stock markets. Again, while this un-American merger of corporate interests and public policy is reminiscent of Italian fascism, the twist provided by digital data presentation and its relationship to the stock market is very much of the 21st century.
And one of the things that I've noticed a lot about this particular event is that, so there are several different things that there are claims that we should probably, test. These things treat COVID. These are some cheap drugs that seem to work on this. And they are not allowed. You're not allowed to talk about these things, let alone find out if they work, because this is a massive cash cow for Pfizer, Moderna, and AstraZeneca.
Well, even in the beginning, right, it was like, how do you build your immune system, right? Get out there and exercise, get out there in the sunlight, get some vitamin D, right? And then what did they do to push this vaccine? Stay inside, the gyms are closed, right?
I can't think of one government bulletin, speech, document, one government representative who has said, hey, in addition to, wearing the masks and the mandates and all that stuff, you should get a bunch of exercise and you should do X, Y, and Z. Here's a list of the top 10 things you can do to build up or increase, the efficiency of your immune system.
Obesity turns out to be one of the underlying factors.
Here's a cliche
deaths.
I haven't heard in over a year. Eat right and exercise. Remember that? Remember eat right and exercise? I haven't heard that in a friggin' year.
Yep.
Yeah, because you're not allowed to.
None of that coming from government, of course. Number 10, attacks on religious minorities. The Orthodox Jewish community in Brooklyn and Christian churches in California have been singled out for punishment if they do not follow COVID rules.
And now the Church of the Invisible Hand.
Indeed, and the Shire Free Church. A targeting of religion that is characteristic of communist policies on the left, especially in China. And number 11, policies that weaken bonds between human beings and weaken the family have been introduced and policed. This is the most serious development of all, says Naomi Wolf. More Free Talk Live is on the way.
Tired of cancel culture? Sick of mega tech corporations holding an axe over your head? Join the LRN.FM Matrix chat server. It's self-hosted, so no one else can tell us what to do or say. Don't like the existing channels? You can make your own. You can even connect into some of our channels from other Matrix servers. It's federated. For the full LRN.FM Matrix experience, though, you should join our server via the step-by-step instructions at chat.lrn.fm. Chat.lrn.fm.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the Free Private Cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. freeprivatecities.com.
Are you a cryptocurrency advocate? The Crypto Tip is the ideal outreach tool to help new people discover cryptocurrency. It's a printable business card-sized tip that you can give to service providers, preferably in addition to a good cash tip. When the server scans the QR code, it'll bring up an explanation of cryptocurrency, how to install a wallet, and allow them to claim the tip. If they don't claim the crypto, you get your tip refunded to you after a time period you specify. Plus, if they do claim the tip, you get an email alert. Create as many tips as you want at cryptotip.org. That's cryptotip.org. Some of you asked, and now we've delivered. LRN.FM's live Keene, New Hampshire studio shows are now streamed in HD on Twitch. Visit our channel at twitch.lrn.fm and give it a follow. If you have Amazon Prime, you get one free subscription on Twitch. If you use it on our channel, Twitch will give LRN.FM a monthly piece of your Prime subscription cost. So please watch, follow, share, and subscribe to twitch.lrn.fm. That's twitch.lrn.fm.
You're listening to the live edition of Free Talk Live. Hour number 3 is next after the news here on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
Former President Trump now commenting on the crisis at the southern border. I'm Ann Carrick, Fox News. The former president claiming changes in policies are to blame for the current problems and that he left everything in good shape. The statement a scathing critique of the Biden administration and Secretary Mayorkas in particular. Congresswoman Yvette Harrell on Fox News Live.
What we learned was now, because of the uptick in the unaccompanied minors, there's over 120 Border Patrol agents that have been pulled from their duties on the ground, from actually patrolling the border to helping with the processing procedures in this new facility in El Paso.
Current facilities are being overwhelmed with more than 15,000 unaccompanied migrant children already in U.S. custody. Investigations are underway following the fatal shootings at several massage parlors near Atlanta. Georgia Senator Raphael Warnock on NBC's Meet the Press.
Look, law enforcement will go through the work that they need to do, but we all know hate when we see it. And it is tragic that we've been visited with this kind of violence yet again. And I'm going to be doing everything in my power as a United States Senator to make sure that families don't have to endure this kind of violence in the first place.
8 people died in the shootings. 6 were women of Asian descent. The shooting suspect has blamed a sex addiction for the attacks. More coronavirus vaccines are available, but many still are hesitant to get the shots. Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer wants the CDC to launch a $1 billion campaign to help educate people and build confidence.
The education campaign should be simple. It simply should say, don't be afraid. The dangers of getting COVID if you don't take the vaccine are many, many more times the dangers of any side effect.
Schumer referenced polls indicating 1 in 3 American adults still are hesitant about a vaccine. America's listening to Fox News.
Join over 24,000 of some of the fastest growing companies in the world who rely on NetSuite. Just ask Sean Nelson, founder of Lovesac.
We started as a beanbag company in my parents' basement. And the next thing I knew, we were one of the fastest growing furniture companies in the world. Only problem, we still had multiple systems for everything.
NetSuite gives you visibility and control over your financials, inventory, e-commerce, HR, and more.
Lovesac furniture is built to last and infinitely adaptable, just like NetSuite.
Find out how NetSuite can help your company with a free product tour at netsuite.com/relax.
A student is forced to kneel before a teacher as punishment. The incident is raising questions.
The student is black and the headmaster white. And the student's mother, Tricia Paul, tells the New York Daily News that headmaster John Hollian of St. Martin de Porres Marianus told her son the punishment was the African way. The child was being disciplined for reportedly working on a different assignment after finishing that day's reading work. Paul says when she found out what happened, she called the office and asked Hollian if it was a standard punishment. She says Hollian told her no, but said he had learned the approach from a Nigerian father. The school says what happened doesn't reflect its values, and they placed the headmaster on leave pending the investigation. Rob Dawson, Fox News.
A large and rowdy crowd in Miami Beach has forced an emergency declaration by the city. Miami Beach City Manager Raul Aguila.
From February 3rd to the present, our police department has made over 1,000 arrests. More than 350 of these arrests have been for felony offenses, and more than 80 firearms have been seized in the foregoing time period. This is not a typical spring break crowd.
Officials are concerned about a possible increase in COVID-19 cases. A curfew is likely to be extended through the spring break period. There's been plenty of controversy surrounding coronavirus-related nursing home deaths in New York State. Today, family members gathered to grieve at the We Care Memorial.
Why did you move to the Shire?
I moved here to the Shire because there's other people around who take liberty just as seriously as I do.
I moved to the Shire because I saw videos of people challenging authority and thought that I could get support myself. It called to me, like, do this, right now.
I wanted to be around people like me who got it, and once I got here, I knew there was nowhere else that I wanted to be.
I've always wanted to change the world, so I moved to the Shire to join people who were actually working towards doing the same thing.
The people here are awesome, loving, and positive. It was for the adventure and for the feeling of something important is happening here. And I just wanted to come to sort of be part of that.
Visit ShireSociety.com to read and sign the Shire Society Declaration and learn the reasons why, if you love liberty, you should immigrate to the Shire. Plus, connect with others via the forum at ShireSociety.com. That's ShireSociety.com.
From the creation of the Bible in 1912 by a struggling Baltimore book salesman to the day in 1493 when Christopher Columbus and his crew looked back on their voyage and realized what they truly discovered was themselves. The Onion looks back at This Week in History. On July 21st, 1969, astronaut Neil Armstrong became the first human to set foot on the surface of the moon. The moon, for Christ's sake.
This is Tranquility Base. The Eagle has landed. Jesus H. Christ, Houston. We're on the moon. Over.
Roger, Tranquility. We copy that. We cannot believe you are on the moon.
I'm descending the ladder. Just one more step and I'm wholly living. I absolutely am standing on the surface of the moon. Jesus H. Christ in a chicken basket.
This is the Onion News Network.
Free Talk Live.
Free Talk Live.
Free talk?
Talk Live. Free Talk Live.
And you're free to wait until the phones are working. Another day or two.
So you can talk to us here on Free Talk Live.
Welcome to Free Talk Still Alive.
Free Talk Still Alive. No thanks to the terrorist attack on the studio. We'll talk more about that a little bit later in the episode. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And you, I wanted to tell you that Freedom's Phoenix is a liberty-oriented news aggregation site. Do you want the newest and freshest stories and perspective on current events from those who value liberty? I
Absolutely.
do. FreedomsPhoenix.com has it. Their daily dispatch is the best way to stay up to date on science, technology, historical findings, liberty news, government overspending, and the rise of the police state. Freedoms with an S, Phoenix.com. FreedomsPhoenix.com.
I'm pretty sure that it was a Freedom's Phoenix article that had the link to like the prosecutor or the status lady's email address to get the information on Ian's hearing on Friday.
Oh.
Like I'm pretty sure I found that information through an article on Freedom's Phoenix.
Big shout out to Ernie Hancock for that stuff.
Yeah, I was like, oh, I better email her so I can get the what do you call it, the Zoom link.
The Zoom link, yes.
Yep. And it worked.
We've been talking about this article from the American Institute for Economic Research, written by Naomi Wolf, who authored The End of America, a letter of warning to a young patriot, in which she outlines the, not 12, but 11 things, the 11 signs.
We've been plugging 12 this whole time, Captain. You better make something up.
It's because, well, okay, number 12, the oppression of Free Talk Live.
Fair.
All right,
That's definitely on the
12,
list. Yeah.
Those are the 12 things. So the article does have a bit of a wrap-up that we thought was interesting. The new biofascism in the West, very much driven by big tech leaders and soon to be exploited by our enemies geopolitically, is a war against free human beings and against the qualities that make us human. Masks break human beings' ability to bond face-to-face and enjoy human contact, smiles, and jokes. Masks turn down the effectiveness of human technology by making it hard for us to read each other and to pick up social cues. Forbidding assembly keeps us from forming human alliances against these monstrous interests. Forbidding human assembly also prevents new cultures, new heroes, and new business models from arising. We are all stuck with the Rolodex and the ideas we had in March of 2020.
Yeah, I was really angered by the local news article about the even more local food co-op here that, was harassing a mother from pulling down her mask to, to identify herself to the baby that she was carrying.
Right, and to console the baby who was crying.
Right. Because the baby, the human contact, didn't recognize the mother behind the mask. And to harass her for that was, I was really upset about that.
Yeah, there was a bit of a protest held at that very co-op.
I understand that. And that was perfect response for that, in my opinion.
I agree. Forcing kids to distance at school and wear masks ensures a generation of Americans who don't know how to form human alliances and who don't trust their own human instincts. Those are counter-revolutionary training techniques. Driving all learning onto already prepared distance learning platforms ensures that kids do not know how to behave in human space not mediated by technology. That's an interesting point. I hadn't thought of that because we just covered an article, I think last night, about a school that fines kids who miss their Zoom classes.
Yes, charging them like $10.
No, they charge them like $430.
But they have to work it off.
But they have to work it off at $10 an hour, and that's child labor.
It's more than minimum wage, though. Got to give them credit for that.
No, still, but they're not actually earning that money. It's to pay off this supposed debt. So
ludicrous.
Many COVID policies seem designed to ensure that humans will have no analog space yet or analog culture left. No way to feel comfortable simply gathering in a room, touching one another as friends or allies, or joining together. This happened at a local protest here. That happened, was it yesterday, I believe, over at the police station.
Okay. Yep.
And there was somebody there that I know, and oh, dude, hey, how's it going? I reached out to shake his hand, and he was like, that'll happen probably in more than 6 months from now. And it's, I forget how squeamish people are about shaking hands or, even giving like a hug.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
no.
People are just, and this is what's being driven out by this type of behavior.
Again, I might be in the minority on this one as well.
Mm-hmm.
I almost feel like society was going in that direction perhaps anyway, with younger individuals and younger members of society getting so much screen time to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Even like I play a lot of video games. Even that space has gone away from, dude, come over, let's play some video games.
That's all
to
online.
dude, go home so we can play co-op together online. Right. Like, so part of me feels like even without the COVID lockdown nonsense, younger generations were moving in that direction away from human interaction regardless.
Yeah, it's fine if it's a voluntary interaction.
Well, and I mean,
Sure.
the whole nature of social media is that it gives you a feeling of sufficiency in socializing. Like, we all have a drive to socialize, and it calms that urge without actually giving us the nutrition, so to speak, of actually socializing. And yeah, we were already headed in that direction anyway.
Right.
But man, did this just pump the gas on it.
So it's okay if it's voluntary,
Right.
because that's what we care
If
about.
it's your choice.
Right, but it can be voluntary and still be damaging to the future society and community as a whole.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and when it's voluntary, at least it goes at its own pace.
Sure.
This being forced, we took the worst possible habits that you already have, and now we're making you do it.
Yeah, particularly when it comes to something like school, which is mandated and, kids are forced to do, and there's truancy, all that stuff behind it as well.
And I did want to mention just real quick, so one of the techniques in hypnotism is to do what they call a pattern break. So a common example is like while you're shaking hands, like your brain has this very specific pattern for the steps of doing a handshake.
Mm-hmm.
And then as soon as that pattern gets broken, your brain will automatically look for cues to adapt to its new scenario since it's not where it thought it was.
Right.
And I think that's a lot of what happened with stopping the school thing. was, okay, this was the pattern of your life. Now your pattern is broken, so you look for the cues to adapt to the new scenario. Okay, well, the new scenario is stay away from each other, keep these masks on, no human contact, no faces, no businesses, and this is your new world that you've been just flash hypnotized into accepting.
Now, I will also say this real quick then. Pattern interruption is also a technique used in personal growth and self-development because it can be effective in a positive way to break you free from the patterns that are stifling your life and keeping you stagnant where you are.
Yes, that happens when you play music with other musicians. Because, you know, even if you're doing like a cover song, right, you're all trying to do your version of whatever that person in the band is, and like, you know, you screw it up. And so, but you develop a pattern of how to do it. And then once you get good at it, you sort of then, that's how you know you're good at it. You sort of try to make it your own. You add your own flavor to the song and sort of own it in a way. Maybe speed it up a little, or you change a riff, or, you know, just a little, you know, something to personalize it. And then that's when the whole band comes together, is when they've added their own bit of creativity to that situation. You know, so it just illustrates that on a positive note as well.
Yep.
Lastly, driving all human interaction into Zoom is not only a way to harvest all of our tech business secrets and IP, it's a way to ensure that intimacy and connection in the future will be done online, and that human face-to-face contact will be killed off. Why is this? Why develop policies that punish, encumber, and restrict human contact in analog spaces? Because human contact is the great revolutionary force when it comes to human freedom and resistance to this form of comprehensive biofascism. The biofascism represented by the new normal, the medico-fascist Step 10. Now, let me recap from the year 2000. Actually, we're not going to do that because she wants to read to us the End of America bit here, but we will publish this article over at the American Institute for Economic Research for you to read. There's a bit of a video presentation here where Naomi Wolf presents the 10th step and her thoughts on the matter. So there you go, the 11 signs where the United States is certainly falling into fascism. We've got more Free Talk Live on the way.
Having taken her father's throne, Sarah Calhoun has fallen out with one of her best allies, and her brother Nathaniel heads into Imperial Philadelphia with a reckless plan. Her uncle Thomas, armed with new powers and new allies, aims to remove Sarah from her throne and from the world of the living. To survive and to gain the strength she needs to fight an impossible war, Sarah must unite the Mound Builder Kings to enact an ancient rite that will propel her beyond mortality. Servant Daughter by DJ Butler is the newest entry in the Dragon Award-winning Witchy War series from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Are you tired of governments around the world killing innocent people? Stop using their money. There is an alternative. Bitcoin is a stateless, free market, non-political currency. Bitcoin is money that cannot be inflated or controlled by any state. By continuing to use their money, you're perpetuating the killing. Stop doing it. You have an incredible alternative available to you now. Learn it, use it, spread it. Get started with Bitcoin at Bitcoin.com. It's Bitcoin.com.
Look, I'm sorry, but you're in for a world of pain if you use Koinomi. The reason is their wallet doesn't support payments. The solution is simple. Let them hear your voice. Message Koinomi on Twitter, it takes 5 seconds, and tell them AnyPay sent you, because they're on the fence right now, and your voice will prove that people care about using Bitcoin for payments. Go tweet at Koinomi now. Or even better, leave a review in the App Store. They really pay attention there. Thanks.
So you've heard all 3 hours of the latest episode of Free Talk Live, and you're still hungry for liberty-oriented audio content? Did you know that we have another 24/7 audio stream at LRN.FM? The Liberty Radio Network airs the latest episodes of some of the best liberty-oriented podcasts on the internet around the clock. In addition to recorded content, you'll also hear live shows like Free Talk Live, originating from our Keene, New Hampshire studio. So listen anytime at LRN.FM. That's LRN.FM. I'm grateful to have heard from some of our satellite listeners recently. I appreciate knowing that people are out there who like what we do and are willing to support it financially. LRN.FM's free-to-air satellite feeds blanket most of 2 continents. It was my goal to put our channel there so people without internet could receive our programs and feed pirate radio stations. We started a fundraiser on Patreon a few years ago to back the satellite channels. I recently announced that I was considering canceling the feeds, and donations increased from 15 to 20% of our costs, which are around $1,000 per month. That's a good start, and to incentivize more contributions, the Shire Free Church will be matching every dollar. Can we reach $500 per month? With your help, we can. You can join our satellite fundraiser for just $2 a month at fund.lrn.fm. If we raise enough to keep both of the channels on the air, awesome. If we raise more, I'll add more channels. If not, we can shut them down and go internet only. It's up to you. Thank you for your support. fund.lrn.fm. If you want to know the latest about Free Talk Live before we go on the air, all you need to decide is how you want it delivered. It's your choice. Visit news.freetalklive.com to receive our usually weekly news updates by email. Plus, we have a Twitter account at twitter.freetalklive.com, and you can follow us on the decentralized Mastodon platform at toot.freetalklive.com. So please follow us at toot.freetalklive.com and sign up for our emails at news.freetalklive.com.
Cell 411 is a free app for Android and iOS that replaces government-controlled 911. Cell 411 allows you to preset a group of friends or private organizations to show up at any emergency. Cell 411 is a nightmare for the state because it proves their so-called services aren't needed. Cell 411 has had thousands of installs, and of course it's covered by the BIPCOT no government license. Cell 411 because your friends won't shoot you when you're in trouble. Without the government, who would build the emergency services? You and Cell 411. Get it today at getcell411.com.
Don't miss a moment of Free Talk Live. Get our archives daily via our podcast at feeds.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live. You are in the right place for the Sunday night edition of this live talk radio program where we talk about all sorts of things from the perspective of freedom. In the studio tonight, it is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
And in case you're just tuning in, the Free Talk Live radio studio on Tuesday was attacked by terrorists.
Yep.
That's right, terrorists. They had big guns, they had drones, they had tanks.
They terrorized.
They did indeed terrorize. They smashed. They broke in. They had what's the name? The battering ram. They had a drone. The
Bearcat with the Bearcat with hooks and chains to yank out the windows.
Yeah, they threw iron hooks through the windows to yank out the windows. They bashed in several other windows, including a large pane window that's going to be really stupid expensive to replace.
And these are the kinds of people who will literally hit on a naked woman chained up next to your car while her dog runs out in the street. That's the kind of people these are. Yeah. They want access to your body because you are afraid of them. That is what they want.
That of everything that happened, that might have been like the most disgusting thing.
Yes.
Yeah, can you imagine if that was an effective tactic? Okay, well, now that I have scared the living bejesus out of you, you want a date with me.
Now, to be fair, it probably is an effective tactic. That's why it is used, right? How do females get out of, tickets when they're pulled over? Well, sexual favors, of course, right? We can make this whole thing go away if let me just turn off my body camera for a second. So, if effective from his perspective, probably worked in the past, which is why there was no shame or qualms about doing it again in this situation.
Yeah. We talked a little bit last night about what I'm calling government privilege, right? We hear all the time white privilege and, that type of thing when folks are talking about racism, but nobody ever talks about government privilege, right?
Oh, it's the biggest one.
And it is. It totally is. And it happens everywhere all the time. Nepotism, getting out of tickets and, judges getting pulled over and all that kind of a thing. These people are used to behaving in this manner because they're used to what they think is respect, but what we know is fear.
Yep.
And terror.
So, and here's one thing too. So if random Joe off the street walks up while this woman is chained up naked next to the car and hits on her, you can actually sue them. There are things that you can do to, try and get recompense.
Yeah.
There's no recompense for this.
No.
There's nothing you can do.
No. I do know that there was, something filed, a complaint against that particular person, that particular terrorist.
I'm sure Internal Affairs will have a field day with that one.
But as we know,
sure they'll investigate themselves thoroughly
and find that they did nothing wrong.
They did nothing wrong.
As they normally do.
How surprising.
He was just being compassionate and checking on her.
So at any rate, there were a total of 6 people arrested. These people are referred to as the Crypto 6. And you can go to thecrypto6.com. That's the crypto and then the number 6.com. We're doing a legal fundraiser for these people. We accept BTC, which is regular Bitcoin, BCH, which is Bitcoin Cash. Also, I think Roger Ver made a mention of the Crypto 6 today on his Twitter. We also will accept.
Well, you got a BSV donation earlier.
We did. That's true.
Satoshi's Vision. Yeah,
a couple of them actually.
Okay.
I mean, one today, but that's the third one that we've gotten for BSV. So ETH or Ethereum, LTC, Litecoin, XMR, which is the privacy coin, Monero. Is also accepted. Dash is also accepted. So if you want to contribute to help the Crypto 6 get proper freedom-oriented representation for their upcoming court cases, we know this is a federal case, so we know that it's going to be expensive. It's the land of the free if you can afford it. And these folks, they're working class people. They certainly cannot afford it of their own volition. So thecrypto6.com, your donations to the legal fund are certainly appreciated, and I speak for them on their behalf. Thank you in advance for participating.
It's evident in the name, but let's also be reminded that there are 6 different people on trial, and each of them are likely going to need their own defense to be, to put up.
Correct.
Right. So, donate what you can, but realize that there's 6 of them, that are going to be going through this prolonged trial with at the federal level.
Going to be at least months.
Or years.
If not years. I mean, months from the bail hearing till the time the trial starts, and then who knows how long the trial will actually go on.
I mean, I go back to, the Chris Cantwell situation. That was like a year just for talking trash on Telegram.
Yeah.
Right. This is, a much greater crime than that, and that was prolonged.
And
this is a long time.
We'll call it post-government overreaction to COVID. So how does that play into how long it's going to take?
Well, that was part of the detention hearing with Ian, right? Like, well, because of COVID, we're going to need you to waive your right to appear in person,
right?
Or we're going to prolong this even further,
right?
Right.
And that does tie back into what we were talking earlier about the suspension of the rule of law. So now we have this beautiful excuse where it's like, oh, I'm sorry, we just couldn't get to your trial in time because of the virus.
Yeah.
It's the virus that doesn't let us get access to the courts at all anymore.
So speedy trial out the window, redefined, perhaps, because of the virus.
Yeah, speedy trial now is, well, I'm pretty sure we can get to it while you're alive, if you're young enough. And one thing I did really want to talk about is the kinds of people that have just been stolen from us. So, like, I mean, sure, people probably know plenty about Ian. I mean, constantly working on activism.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, just constantly. Like, you know how you are upset that, oh, I've got to do jury duty? Well, he will volunteer to head out before the jury selection process starts just so he can hand out some information on jury nullification.
Yep.
But they don't like that.
Right.
They don't want people knowing about jury nullification.
Right.
So he's the target.
These are the kinds of people. And
wait, hang on. Just if you're listening to this program tonight, go ahead and search jury nullification and educate yourself on what it is and how to do it yourself.
It's terribly important. It is possibly the one circumstance in which an ordinary person has any actual effect on government.
Agreed.
So, and then there's nobody. Okay. Every single time that I see nobody, he is doing one of 2 things. He is coding or he is reaching out to black people. talking to them about, okay, so here's the racist origins of gun control. Here is how they are trying to separate us and start a race war. And actually somewhat effective.
He was also the organizer of the 420 events that happened in Keene several years ago.
That's true. Yeah. As a matter of fact, a big proponent for, I mean, not just the marijuana thing, but crimes without a victim. That's what we're talking about here.
And the last time I saw him, he had made a program that by doing a percentage-based system had figured out how to copy what mutual funds do in the stock market and stabilize the cryptocurrency market while making money for yourself.
Yep. And also, he was a pretty entertaining guy on the radio. I did a show with him every Monday, and I miss it. So, more Free Talk Live coming to your ears.
Carl Watner, longtime proponent of a voluntary society, died last December. You may have seen his articles published on his website, voluntarist.com, in his newsletter, The Voluntarist, the Mises Institute, or elsewhere over the last 40 years. His newest book, I Must Speak Out, Volume 2, The Best of the Voluntarist, is now available via Liberty Under Attack Publications. This 430-page second volume spans the years of 2000 through 2020 and includes articles by Carl Watner, Hans Hermann Hoppe, Carl Hess, Benjamin Tucker, George H. Smith, Lysander Spooner, Pete Eyre, Joyce Brand, and many others. I Must Speak Out is for the newly initiated, the veteran voluntarist, or anywhere in between. Buy the book now at libertyunderattack.com/voluntarist. For more great content on building a voluntary society and for Carl's extensive archives, check out voluntarist.com.
So the protection of life, liberty, and property is what the Free State Project is all about. But it's an effort to move 20,000 people who understand.
It's about demonstrating to the entire country
that, we can have a free market, a truly free market.
Making it just a freer, great place to live.
It's the world's largest voluntarist libertarian community, and it's only getting bigger.
That's amazing, to be able to move to a place where other people passionately believe in being free and independent.
What the Free State Project is managing to do, though, is to put their money where their mouth is. It's physically getting up across the country and saying, let's go someplace and let's demonstrate the power of these ideas. There's a lot of kind of philosophy that surrounds liberty. There's a lot of thinking about it and talking about it. But here in New Hampshire, people are doing it.
101 Reasons Liberty Lives in New Hampshire, a documentary by Free State Project Early Movers. Watch it free at 101reasonsfilm.com. 101reasonsfilm.com.
Want to accept Bitcoin at your online store? There's a good chance you already have what you need: a WordPress using WooCommerce and a Bitcoin address. Now all you need to start taking Bitcoin payments on your website is the AnyPay app on your Android or iPhone. Just paste your Bitcoin address into AnyPay, then connect it to your website with our one-click plugin for WordPress. Now your website takes Bitcoin, start to finish in 15 minutes or less with no complicated steps. Download AnyPay from the App Store today.
The LRN.FM social media channels have been revamped. We've eliminated Facebook and focused on other platforms like Twitter and Mastodon, the decentralized alternative to Twitter. On our accounts, you'll find posts from multiple LRN.FM show hosts together in one place. Follow us on Twitter at twitter.lrn.fm, or better yet, move to the decentralized Mastodon social media platform at toot.lrn.fm, toot.lrn.fm. I think you'll like it.
If you're looking for work, the person you are applying to may be even more nervous than you are. And the way things are now, your references have never been more important. Here are 3 tips. First, know that employers are checking. Every hire is under the microscope these days. Second, they won't just be checking references you provide. Figure that all of your ex-employers will get a call and be asked, would you hire him or her again? Third, assume you will be Googled. So before you apply, remove all those party animal photos from your Facebook page. Even if you're not in the job market, effective communication skills have never been more important, with money and attention so scarce now. For more tips for job seekers and getting better results in all your day-to-day communication, hit survivalspeech.com. I'm Holland Cook.
We're still not sure why you'd want to watch, but our video feed is streaming nightly for free at cam.freetalklive.com.
Yes, it is Free Talk Live.
And then he said wrecked him, damn near killed him.
I want to kiss her, but she won't let me. I am a huge Dr. Demento fan, and there's all sorts of that type of thing on the Dr. Demento show, which is still going, by the way, but it's web only. Nobody's paying me to say anything about that. I'm just a huge fan of that show, or at least I used to be.
I'm totally reaching out to them for ads now. You got a free plug now. You got to pay, sucker.
Yeah, that's how drugs work, right? I'll give you this one for free.
You know what's funny about that? I got accused of that type of behavior when it came to like video games when I was a kid.
Yeah.
Like I lost a part to my video game that made it work at home.
Mm.
And so I hooked up, this was like the Nintendo 64.
Yeah.
And I hooked it up and I was charging my friends to like play. And no, they found other things to do. No one would pay me. So I went like, all right, fine, first hour free. And then you got to pay.
Wow.
And we're playing Star Fox 64. And that's fun. So they paid, they played the first hour free. And then guess what? I made my money back like that evening. Where I went wrong was telling my dad how I did it. Right? I went, yeah, no, I let him play for like the first hour free. And then I made all my money back. He was like, that's what drug dealers do. You can't be doing that. But it's, drug dealers do it because as far as marketing and real business, it works. Free samples at Costco, man. That's how they get you.
Drugs are for people who can't handle reality, but reality is for people who can't handle drugs.
Personally,
some comedian said, I don't remember who, I'm plagiarizing. Also, I'm forgetting to do things thanks to your Nitro reminder, which was actually an intro reminder.
It was.
So we should do an intro, I guess, in case the listeners are wondering what the heck they're listening to, right?
It might just be helpful.
So there's a big sign on the wall behind Richie Rich, a big banner, if you will, that says
LRN.FM
is
Liberty
free,
Radio Network.
Free Talk Live. This is Free Talk Live. And we are on the LRN.FM. Well, LRN.FM is currently not streaming, so that's one of the things that the terrorists broke, among many, many other things, including the telephone. So I can't say my normal spiel. We're a live call-in radio talk program.
Do you have an ad to read?
I do, actually. Okay. I do. We'll get to that. Actually, before I read the ad, I want to say thank you to Derek, who is a gold level amplifier. I think that means he gives $50. Is it 5, 10? No, it's $25. He gives $25 per month to the amplifier program. Over at amp.freetalklive.com, you can read all about the amplifier program.
Okay, I got a quick question about that because people were questioning on Facebook if the AMP funds have been compromised.
They have not.
They have not.
They
okay,
have not.
Good.
Yes. I've talked to Mark Edge about the situation. There has been some maneuvering on the back end of things, including, everything associated with the events that have come up to make sure that things are secure. So if you're out there listening, please understand that there are things happening behind the scenes to make sure that the amplifier funds go to Free Talk Live in the way they're supposed to. What do the amplifier funds go to, you might ask, new listeners and people who've not heard of the AMP program? Why?
Advertising, marketing, and promoting Free Talk Live.
Very good, Richie Rich. It goes to advertising, marketing, and promoting Free Talk Live, getting us on more radio stations. We're on about 185 radio stations.
Even now?
Even now. We could be on 200, 250. Now, not every station carries us 7 days a week. Some only carry like the weekend. Some carry, Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Some carry, it just depends on the radio program. Some don't broadcast us live. They'll broadcast us, post-recording and that kind of a thing. But we are on 185 radio stations currently. We could be on 200. We could be on 250. It's all up to you, the listener. Please consider becoming an amplifier over at amp.freetalklive.com. There are some perks that you get once you become an amplifier, and some nice treats that we try to give you, albeit I think like the amp lines are down right now and that kind of a thing. So due to the terrorists,
help us get all that back up and running by amplifying.
And keep the message of freedom. If you enjoy the hosts, the co-hosts, the content that we bring, even the callers, the articles that we talk about, the subject matter that we talk about, please consider becoming an amplifier. We appreciate. Thank you, Derek, very much for your donation. We're going to shift gears a little bit to something that ties in to a bit that we've been talking about. Richie Rich, you brought this in.
Yeah, I mentioned it a little bit earlier in the show, and if we got to it, we got to it, and we're going to get to it because we had to deal with the masks. Now, maybe a week or so, several weeks ago, I guess, I put an article in the show prep for the host, and you guys did it on the air, which was the masks are liberating for some people. Like, they really enjoy wearing the mask.
Right.
And I think this article also ties into that, and along with what we were discussing earlier, experts say mask separation anxiety is real.
Wait, so like if you lose your mask, you have anxiety because where did my mask go? Well, I can't be without my mask.
Sort of.
Okay.
For those who are fully vaccinated, the CDC says it's safe to take your mask off in certain situations. Good. However, but after years of never leaving home without a face mask, some people may be uneasy with the idea of letting go of the protection. So the face mask is now a walking security blanket.
Oh, it is
for these
too.
people.
Oh my gosh, Linus's. That's what I'm going to refer to everybody who's wearing their masks in the most inappropriate situations.
Like
right?
alone in the car.
Alone. There goes a Linus.
Yep.
You know.
For the better part of a year, public service announcements, political leaders, and health experts have been urging Americans to don cloth face masks to slow the spread of COVID-19. A lot of us have been able to do that, condition ourselves to this new type of behavior, and I get my purse, I get my car keys, and I get my mask, said Dr. Aderonke Peterson, an instructor of psychiatry and behavioral sciences at Northwestern University Feinberg School of Medicine. She says, while the latest CDC guidelines say it's okay for fully vaccinated people to gather with one another indoors without masks, it may take some time to process that.
Wait, so
how am I supposed to repel vampires without my cross?
Or my garlic necklace?
Or silver bullets?
There is an invisible enemy. How am I supposed to fight it without my totem?
Well, because you fought it with the vaccine, man. Like, that's the thing. You got your Fauci ouchie, right? You should be good to go, but no, you still want to wear the mask.
I know it's daytime, but there are vampires.
We have to acknowledge the fact that our bodies might not respond to that intellectual and logical recommendation right away, said Peterson. Like grief, she says everyone experiences and comfort levels will be different. So your family members might be ready to take their mask off and ready to follow the CDC guidelines as they've stated them, but you might have some hesitation and some anxiety, and that's okay, she said. At the same time, a lot of people remain vaccine hesitant. Oh, that's a good thing. According to Pew Research, while more Americans say they plan to get vaccinated, 30% still say they don't plan to. While we continue to push vaccines and encourage people to get vaccinated at the same time, each person is going to be experiencing kind of a different social context when it comes to their families and when it comes to work, said Peterson.
It super bothers me that the organization known as government pushes the vaccines, right? If it were really something that were helpful to you, it would need no pushing by the government. People of their own volition would be educated by their medical professionals that they employ to do the right thing for themselves and their bodies. And if it were that good, it would sell itself. They don't need a giant sales force known as the government to push this on everybody.
And like we mentioned earlier, the dichotomy of government service, right, and how it's not meant for your benefit. When you think of the COVID virus and the vaccine in reverse, right, the vaccine is what they were pushing. The virus was then created and pushed on the people in order to get them to inject themselves with an experimental vaccine. Things start to make a little bit more sense.
Do you get anxious when you leave your mask in the car accidentally?
Call in a couple of days.
More Free Talk Live on the way.
Free Talk Live.
The GoPro camera that's costs $300 is better than a Taser-made camera.
Yeah, so there are other competitors in the marketplace, and they weren't given a chance to even bid on that. I mean, that's good old boy cronyism, isn't it? You support that?
Are you opposed to free enterprise?
I am for free enterprise. I am against no-bid contracts. You see, free marketplaces have competition so that we find out if products are superior or not. In an area where you have no bid contracts, you'll never find out what's better. You said that there was no coercion here.
Making the purchase can make that decision for themselves.
No, they cannot, because they're taking my tax money at the threat of my home. You said there was no coercion, and I will remind you that they will kick me and my family out on the street if I don't pay property taxes. To suggest that this money belongs to the police chief is just the kind of boot-licking that takes this country into fascism.
Free Talk Live, 7 nights a week from 7 to 10 Eastern, live on the Liberty Radio Network at LRN.FM.
My name is Jacob Hornberger. I'm president of the Future of Freedom Foundation, which Congressman Ron Paul awarded for having an outstanding freedom website. Write us at fff@fff.org, and we'll send you a free 3-month subscription to our monthly journal of libertarian essays and our booklet, Economic Liberty in the Constitution, which George Mason University economics professor Walter Williams praised in a recent column. That's fff@fff.org.
There are lots of ways to listen to Free Talk Live. Our podcast has been around since podcasts began, and now the FTL feed is loaded with content besides our full show archives. Did you know that we make it easy for you to customize your podcast subscriptions? We have different feeds, one that includes only our full shows, one with just the Daily Digest, and our main feed that includes everything. You decide what you listen to. It's quick and easy to customize your feeds at feeds.freetalklive.com. That's feeds.freetalklive.com. Is spreading the message of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace around the globe worth $2 per month to you? As you may already know, in addition to our internet feed, LRN.FM broadcasts on free-to-air satellite across North and Central America, as well as Sub-Saharan Africa. And we've been available on satellite for free 24/7 since 2010. The LRN.FM free-to-air satellite signal is reaching some of the most oppressive regimes in the world, and there's no doubt our ideas are making an impact. You can learn more about the channel's impact by watching the 3-minute video at fund.lrn.fm. If you'd like to help free minds globally with our ideas of liberty, cryptocurrency, and peace, you can donate as little as $2 per month via fund.lrn.fm. You can help us continue and expand our satellite broadcast to multiple continents. Visit fund.lrn.fm today, and thank you for your help. Don't forget to share the link on social media. That's fund.lrn.fm. What if you want to hear the latest episode of Free Talk Live, but all you have is your phone? You forgot to download our archive, and you have no data connection. You can call our Listen line at 641-793-0191. That's a long-distance number, so you may incur charges. If not, listen as long as you want. 641-793-0191. The Free Talk Live Listen line, 641-793-0191. Bitcoin.com has launched a trading platform at local.bitcoin.com, allowing you to buy or sell Bitcoin Cash via dozens of payment methods like PayPal, Venmo, bank deposit, remittances, or meeting in person with cash. There are no ID requirements to sign up for and use the site, and all communications between buyers and sellers are encrypted. Finally, a global trading platform that respects your privacy. Visit local.bitcoin.com to get started trading Bitcoin Cash. local.bitcoin.com.
Yep, we still do email. Drop your email address in the entry box at freetalklive.com, and you'll be kept in the loop with Free Talk Live.
Come on.
Ham on. Ham on.
Come on.
Ham on whole wheat.
Yeah. Come on. That's a Jacksonism.
Mine was Weird Al.
So I'm having a lyric go through my head. Come on now, touch me, and you'll see that I am not afraid. Come on, come on, come on, come on now, touch me, baby. That's not allowed in this era.
The Doors, yes.
Yeah. And you'll see that I am not afraid. Also not allowed.
Is that the Cops pickup liner?
My favorite Doors song, of course, is "Show Me the Way to the Next Whiskey Bar."
Oh, come on. You don't need to be shown that.
No, I probably have it memorized already. So. This is Free Talk Live, in case you're wondering who these babbling, bearded folks are. It is myself, the Reverend Captain Kickass, joining me.
Peakless Mountaineer.
And Richie Rich.
You can join liberty-minded voluntarists, anarchists, and libertarians from June 28th through July 4th for Forkfest 2021 at Rogers Campground in the beautiful White Mountains of New Hampshire. Forkfest happens the week after the Porcupine Freedom Festival, and Forkfest is decentralized, which means no one is in charge. That also means there's no ticket cost. Just reserve your camping, RV site, or motel room with Rogers Campground for June 28th through July 4th. I can't think of anywhere better to celebrate Independence Day than with you guys and other freedom-loving people here in New Hampshire. You can relax and enjoy the camaraderie of like-minded people, or you can create whatever experience or event you'd like others to have. If you are planning an event for Forkfest, be sure to let other people know in advance. You can connect with fellow Forkfesters via the unofficial Telegram chat or the Forkfest forum. Links to those can be found on the unofficial website, forkfest.party. Mark your calendar now for June 28th through July 4th, 2021, and we'll see you at forkfest.party. I'm looking forward to it.
There's also the unofficial map of events on forkfest.com.
That's correct? True, yes. And that's the coolest thing about Forkfest is that it's decentralized, so that if you make something that benefits the entire festival, you're free to do so. And people, if they like it, they use it. And if they don't, they won't. And it's great.
It'll be nice being outside the police state for a week.
Indeed, it sure will. So we have been talking about what, Richie Rich?
Mask separation anxiety.
So this is the idea that if you lose your mask or you take your mask off,
or you're not required to wear one anymore,
that you may feel some sort of anxiousness because you miss your mask.
57% of Americans say they believe it will be a year or more before things get back to pre-pandemic normal, including 14% who expect it will take more than 2 years.
I am of the 14% variety because I think it'll take until there's some sort of government collapse. And once government takes power, we've seen time and time again throughout the course of history, they don't give it back.
Now, you want to take some bets on what's going to finish first, the pandemic or the trials of the Crypto 6?
Oh
well,
provocative.
I'll make a wild prediction. I will wildly predict that during this year there will be a massive pullback, and it's like, yes, these vaccines were so effective, and now no one needs to wear their masks. And then next year, oh well, there's just this new thing,
new strain.
It's a new strain.
It's a mutation.
Way worse. Which there might actually be a new strain that is significantly more virulent.
Well, there are already 4,000 variants of COVID, according to science.
Yeah.
At this point in space and time.
And much like the flu vaccine, they're saying that your COVID vaccine might be an annual thing. You just got to get your shot now.
Derp, derp, derp.
Peterson says it's important to acknowledge that everyone has experienced this pandemic in their own unique way. I really encourage people, if you have a family member or a coworker who says, I would still like us to keep our masks on for now, I think it's okay to say, let's delay this next step.
Oh my gosh, people, can you just...
Well, it's important that people have the freedom to keep their masks on, just not the freedom to not put them on in the first place.
They could have always masked. Why didn't you wear the mask before your television told you to?
In the end, experts say we're all in this together, and one size does not fit all. So, much like you were saying, Peakless, it's a little strange, right, that this, holistic approach, I guess, this, to alleviate the anxiety is only for people that wanted to keep their masks on, but people were demonized for not wanting to wear one in the first place.
You can't alleviate your anxiety by seeing human faces. Not allowed.
Not allowed. That's the end of the article.
You said human faces, right?
Yes. Human faces.
All right.
Smiling, laughing, joking, sneering, whatever they're doing. Human faces.
I'm 12 and sometimes I'm also
that would be against our
musician.
FCC rules, mister.
Being 12?
No.
What you're thinking
okay.
cannot be verbalized.
You mean like fart jokes?
It would be scatological.
Scatological.
There's no talk of microdosing on air.
That's right. I've already been given that talk.
And one of the interesting things about this is like it's all geared toward like how much faith do you have in the vaccine? Now, if you are reasonable, that is the actual amount of faith that you should have in the vaccine. This hasn't been tested. It has none of these vaccines have been approved by the FDA.
Facebook fact checker says that it's deemed safe.
Let's pause.
No, it hasn't been deemed safe at all. It's been allowed a special exception. None of these have been FDA approved, not a one.
Let's pause there for a second, right? Because as libertarians, we go, who the hell is this FDA telling us we can't put whatever we want into our bodies?
It's Ferdinand D'Angelo.
And now we've got
Alberto.
this vaccine that's not FDA approved that you're allowed to take voluntarily if you want to.
Well, I mean, if you already question the government, then okay, so they're the ones pushing this in the first place. Also, these aren't vaccines. They are more akin to basically genetically re-engineering human beings. That's what they actually do. They get in, they change your genome so that the cellular structure of your body is supposedly less receptive to this.
Yeah, it's a very, very scary thing when that type of a thing is inserted into your body and you don't know the full capability of it. It has been described to me as software. It is a platform. This mRNA quote vaccine unquote has been described to me, and I've read a couple of articles that describe it in a similar fashion. That it is a platform in which they can program to do a variety of things, not just prevent you from getting this cold.
So at dinner tonight, I was talking with another member of the Liberty community. Not going to put any names out there, and this person was excited about this platform because of all the, as a technology allows for so many advances in medicine, right? Such as potentially curing cancer down the line because of its ability to alter those things at a cellular level.
That's fine to be excited about technology moving forward, but only after we know the potential side effects over a long-term period of time.
And all I'm suggesting with my comment was, if we're gonna poo-poo on the FDA as libertarians being not the authority of giving us permission to do things, right? We should not look to them in this particular instance as the expert and the authority of telling us what is safe to put into our body.
That's true. This actually plays into my theory that humankind is going to divide into two different.
Well, they seem to be forcing that division now.
Yeah.
So the people that get these vaccines as a regular part of their life, at some point you will be genetically re-engineered into a different species.
Yeah, I think we're going to find, there's going to be a group of folks that stay here on Earth and a group of folks that leave. Which group is going to be which? Who knows?
Or what if it's just like a Neanderthal split, right? And those who get the vaccine are then progressed forward in human evolution, and those unvaccinated are just a blip on the radar of all humans.
What were the bad guys in the Wrath of Khan? They were the super soldiers that were bioengineered to be like smarter, faster, and that kind of thing. This reminds me exactly of that, except they're giving this to the general population instead of a very small subset of super soldiers or whatever.
Seems too nerdy, and I'm just not that into Pokemon.
Well, and I mean, this is the opposite of a super soldier serum, because the last thing they want is for you to be powerful. I mean, honestly, the biggest thing that we gain our power from is our ability to work with each other. So they are destroying every capacity that we have to form these networks in the first place, except for the network that we've already established through government.
So again, let's us as libertarians and freedom-minded, liberty-minded individuals who don't mask up, who may decline this vaccine, this genetic change.
Yep.
And let's let everyone else just fall by the wayside and remove themselves from the gene pool, and let's progress forward.
I'm with you on that, my brother. I am with you on that. We are out of time. This has been the Sunday night edition of Free Talk Live. I have no more words. Join us 7 nights a week.
Hail Hydra.
Do you feel like your nation, state, or community no longer holds your values? Have you dreamt of a place where people agree that liberty is important and are free to pursue their projects so long as they respect the property of others? There are many people just like you that are discovering freeprivatecities.com. Their social media links are at the upper right of the page at freeprivatecities.com. All skill levels will be needed when the first of the free private cities opens. It's sooner than you think. Stop arguing and build. FreePrivateCities.com.
What if the United States and the Soviet Union had fought on land, sea, air, and the astral plane, struggled for dominion across parallel dimensions or on the surface of the moon? What wonders would have been unveiled? What terrors would have haunted mankind from those dark and dismal dimensions? Come closer, peer through a glass darkly, and discover the horrifying alternative visions of World War III from some of today's greatest minds in science fiction, fantasy, and horror. Weird World War III. Available now from Baen Books at BaenBooks.com.
Is oral health important to you? If you don't like your own teeth, fresh breath, or kissing people, then by all means stop listening. Several years ago, I met Jessica Armand, founder and CEO of My Magic Mud, and I became passionate about the product that she created and never want to live without it. It's clinically proven to whiten teeth, but I find it does much more. They want you to love My Magic Mud as much as I do, so they're giving you a money-back guarantee plus 20% off. Go to MyMagicMud.com and use coupon code FTL20 at checkout. MyMagicMud.com, FTL